Welcome to another Rating Your Team stream. I think the last time we did this was in Game Week 12. We've done a few videos since then, but it's been a long time coming, and a lot of you were requesting this during the international break. I know it's almost over, and we're almost approaching the Game Week 31 deadline, but here we go. There could be a deadline stream tomorrow, and if not, it'll be on the Saturday morning. I might put a poll out later on to see what you guys think as well. And unfortunately, I probably won't be able to get through every single message in the live chat, as well as all the teams, but I'll try my very best. And a lot of you sent in those teams on Twitter and Instagram, so thank you very much to everyone who did so. And now let's go through all your questions and comments first, and then we'll talk about the first team on screen, which is by the Flying Dutchman. So welcome, Singh. Thoughts on Trent training news? Well, it looks like he's in light training, but he hasn't fully assimilated to full team training, and that is a bit of a worry. I wouldn't really expect him to start against Watford if that's the case, but I think against City and Game Week 32 he should be available. And also in UCL Fantasy, for those of you who play that, I've got Trent in my team there, so it's not ideal. Welcome FPL FC, welcome Aranya and Zodiac, thank you for tuning in. Welcome Karaki, Golden Boy, Stephen, Genius Gamer. Are Trent and Ramsdale going to be back? Well, with Trent, I don't think he's going to start based on what we've heard today, but that's just a guess. As for Ramsdale, also a bit worrying. Let's actually talk about that first before we go into the team. So we're going to change screen here for a second. So this is the latest we got with Trent Alexander-Arnold. So Trent has started doing some light running on the training pitch, but is still yet to join first team training. So he's just doing his own individual training, and it doesn't look like, as things stand anyway, that he will start against Watford, but you never know. And what might be the case is that he's on the bench against Watford, then starts against Benfica, and then he's back in time, for that City game. I'm seeing some Liverpool fans thinking that maybe it's going to be the case of Trent getting some minutes against Benfica and not even starting against Watford, not getting any minutes, and the same goes for that Benfica game before the City one. But I think it's really crucial for Trent to get back up to speed and up to rhythm, especially in such a high intensity and high quality game like it will be against City. That should be game of the season, arguably. It's going to be really important, but also such a high quality game. And now with the Arsenal players, so Saka is looking a bit positive, and he probably will be back for that Palace game, and I think Arteta was saying that he's hopeful that he will train today, and maybe that was the case. As for Ramsdale though, he hasn't trained yet, and that is a bit of a worry, but he has until Monday, as reported here by Simon Collins. And Tomiyasu, not many of us have him, but that is a bit of a blow for Arsenal as well, that he just has these persisting injury problems like he did before in Serie A. But there you go. Basically, with Ramsdale and Trent, it's not looking too good, but there's still time for them to be fit, especially for Ramsdale when Arsenal play on the 4th of April on that Monday. Saka, I think, should be all clear. But yeah, Ramsdale and Trent, I'm not very confident about them, especially Trent, at least for Game Week 31. I don't think it's a long-term problem or anything like that. And if anything, from when he first got injured, probably 3 to 4 weeks. And then that means he'll miss the Benfica and Watford games potentially. But let's go back to the teams. This is going to be the main theme of this video. Rating your teams tomorrow or on Saturday. Like I said, I'll confirm that as well. We'll be talking about my team, the deadline, and answering all your questions. So it might be a bit frustrating for some of you because you're used to me answering all the questions on the live chat. I might not be able to do that today, and I apologise in advance, but still, we'll try our very best. Good evening to you as well, Flying Dutchman. And yeah, it's your team up first as well, so it's all good. So glad the wait is nearly over. Yeah, in a way, I was enjoying the international break a little bit, but if it's these kind of pointless qualifiers and stuff, I can understand why most people wouldn't, especially in Europe. But yeah, it's good to be back as well. Hey Dylan, how are you, man? Hope you're doing well. I'm doing well, Sudindra. What about you? I think your team features, and if not, we can also bring it on later on in the stream. Welcome, Neil. Good evening to you as well. Aidan Puss's team. I'll try to answer this one quickly in terms of your team. So Ramsdale, Foster, Trent, Robbo, White, Cody, Doherty, Kulusevski, Saka, Son, Salah, Rafinha, Verkos, Jimenez, and Dennis. 0.4 million, one free transfer. Yeah, so looking at that team, I think the best course of action will be to bench boost in 36, wildcard in 34, and potentially free hit in 33. It would be a bit different for those of you who don't have the bench boost because you could arguably free hit in 36, but in your case, that's what I'd probably do, Aidan. And looking at your team, you could roll the transfer, or if not, sell Jimenez, and you can just completely dead end that spot. Another possibility is making 2 transfers for a -4, getting rid of Son, and then bringing in Harry Kane up front for Jimenez. That's a possibility, but otherwise, you could just roll, Aidan. I think you're in good shape there. Yeah, what does RCM mean? It's just my initials. It's not right central midfield or anything, but it's just kind of my initials in a different way. So, both my, parents' names and stuff like that. Welcome, Never Give Up FPL. Roll the dice. Yeah, that's kind of a good way of summing up FPL, to be honest. Welcome, Moha. Should I get Barnes or Kulusevski? I think long term it would make sense to go for Barnes, but if you're looking at since he's joined the Premier League, Kulusevski's been really good and one of the best assets in the game. I think for expected assists, he's second in the entire league. Is James fit? I think he's in training, full training, so I think he's fit. But then the main problem with Reece James is he going to start every single game in the Premier League? Probably not, especially if Chelsea kind of secure that third spot, can't really push up to second, and they're not really going to lose out to fourth or fifth or something like that. And they also have the Champions League to really focus on, and also the FA Cup. So I think he's fit, but in terms of the rotation, that could be an issue. Took a minus 28 for my team and bought Havertz, Robertson, Cancelo, Pope, Matip, Vassar, Trent, Coutinho, Dean. Thoughts? I mean, I like the transfers, but I don't think it's worth it for a minus 20, to be honest, but you never know. Long term, you will make up those points in a way, but it's just better to either wildcard, which I'm guessing you already played your wildcard chip, or to minimise those hits, maybe take a minus 8 one week, then a minus 4, etc. But I can see why you did it, but minus 20 is a bit excessive. Yeah, it's been a long time. Welcome, Weiseng. Welcome, Chicken, or Chicken. Did I just say Chicken again? Welcome, Junior. Apologies for that. Cancelo for Trent, Havertz for Kulusevski, and Kasper Schmeichel for Ramsdale. I have Son. Do you think I should get Kane or stick him in? One deal breaker, next game is Spurs home. Yeah, Son is better at home, but then if you look at their records against Newcastle, which maybe you don't care about, but Kane has a much better record against Newcastle. I think he has 8 goals against them. Son only has 3. But long-term, structurally, Kane is a better move. So even if Son outscores him by a few points, it's still the right decision in my opinion. But you don't have to, because Son is good and you can always wait a few more weeks and then bring in Harry Kane. Yeah, the update on Ramsdale we talked about in the beginning of this stream. So it looks like he hasn't trained yet and he is a bit of a doubt for the Monday game. So there are some question marks about him. But in terms of Saka, should all be good. Benrahma or Lanzini? Probably Benrahma. I'm not a big fan of either of them, to be honest. And Trent. Yeah, Trent as well. We just did an update as well. So he's in light training. He hasn't trained fully with the entire squad. So there is a doubt about him starting against Watford. At the moment, I don't think he will. Rafinha or Havertz on a wild card? Havertz. I think despite the possible rotation for Chelsea in the Premier League, I would go for Havertz. Yeah, hola Tomás. Yeah, puedes revisar mi equipo. We might do that later on. So we've got some teams set already. So we could go through yours later on as well. I'll try to get through these as well. So I feel that having strong at the back and mid will help me long term. Yeah, and that's why up front you could just dead end your third striker to a Gelhardt or someone really cheap like Cucho Hernandez and then focus fully on your team. But let's go through these teams. The Flying Dutchman is up first. And I think he has 2 free transfers and 0.7 million in the bank. And looking at this, in Game Week 31 specifically, I think there's 2 moves you could do. So if Ramsdale, it looks like he's going to be out for Game Week 31. If that's the case, then you could move him on to Nick Pope. I think that's a pretty simple transfer, a pretty safe one. The alternative would be King to Weghorst. I would only use 1 transfer though, but you could always use 2. I don't think that's a bad thing. And then you can roll the other one and then move into Game Week 32 with 2 free transfers. And then looking at the chips you have available, I think the free hit in 33 could actually be the best course of action for you. And then you can wildcard in 34 and then bench boost in 36. And I said this earlier as well. I think for those of you who don't have the bench boost, you could use your last free hit in 36, which I'm actually looking to do potentially. But those of you who have the bench boost, I think it makes more sense to use it in 36, especially in your case, the Flying Dutchman, because it's not like you're loaded on these Southampton players, etc. But let's actually take a look at your team. So let's, for example, make 1 transfer. Let's assume Ramsdale is fit. Then we'll do King to Weghorst. Although I said this in my transfer tips video, I'm not a big fan of Weghorst. We look at his stats and we can talk about him later on in terms of the stats. They are abysmal. He's got 1 goal and 2 assists. His XG and XA are absolutely awful. We'll talk about that later on as well. And yeah, there's just doesn't make for pretty reading. But let's say you get Weghorst in, then you can bench Roman Saiss or Tierney. It's up to you there. And either way, one of them could come on anyway because Trent might miss out. So let's put Tierney out because just to balance out a little bit, I don't expect a clean sheet for Arsenal there. And we could do something like this, but it's up to you. You could always go for Tierney instead of Saiss. And your team looks pretty good for Game Week 31. But if Ramsdale misses out, I think the priority would be to get Nick Pope. The problem is we might not get that information before the deadline. So bear that in mind, the Flying Dutchman. And then if we're looking at Game Week 32, this is how your team would look like roughly. And this looks pretty solid actually with Weghorst there. You'd still have 2 free transfers and now you would actually have even more money. Sorry, not even more money in the bank. You'd have 0 million left in the bank and that's how you would look like. But yeah, Salah as your captain. No, I probably would go for Harry Kane there. You actually are one of the few that send in their teams that have Son, Kane and Salah. It's a really nice thing to have, and you've got Robertson and Trent. But yeah, that looks pretty solid, to be honest. I think Weghorst would be a nice transfer in for you. If not, it would be Nick Pope. But I already raised my concerns about Weghorst. If we look at Game Week 33 quickly, you've got a few blanks there with Sace, Rafinha, but it's not awful, and you could actually avoid using the free hit here, maybe use it in 36 or 37, but because you have that bench boost left, I would recommend using it in 36, which should still be the biggest double game week of the season. But let me know what you think, the Flying Dutchman. Which way are you leaning towards? Are you going to get Nick Pope in goal, or maybe will you get Weghorst up front? You could do both. I believe you have 2 free transfers heading into game week 31. So that is kind of my analysis of this team. Let me know if any of you disagree or not. The other possibility, actually, if you want to make a move up front, is to downgrade. So instead of Weghorst, go even cheaper. Go for Cucho Hernandez or Gelhardt, dead end that spot. And strikers don't really offer that much value anyway this season. Started wasting. Let's try to go through the other questions as well before we move on to the next team. Gracias, Thomas. Can we send our team ID? Well, I'm going to go through a few first, and then I'm going to look into possibly going through more teams. But ideally, for those of you who are sending in your teams right now, send the team IDs later on, and then we can put it on screen like this, and then look at how your team looks like in future weeks. And then you can also provide feedback in terms of what you're already thinking, and then I can also just suggest some things to do as well. When should I use the remaining chips? I have free hit, bench boost, or wildcard. Just like I said with the Flying Dutchman, although it might be different for you, Junior, I would probably free hit in 33, wildcard in 34, and bench boost in 36. I think that is probably the best way to go about it. So the Flying Dutchman says, cheers Dylan, I'll give it some thoughts. I was thinking about getting Pope, Cancelo and James. Yeah, that's another possibility actually. And especially if Trent is going to miss out in 31, he's going to face City in 32. And you could actually just get rid of him, bring him back in 34 if anything. So I like those transfers as well. And that's a bit more aggressive than what I offered, which was just 1 free transfer and then rolling the other ones. So I actually agree, the Flying Dutchman. There's not one set way to go about it. I actually like those transfers a lot. The problem is with Reece James and Cancelo potentially, there could be rotation, especially with the amount of games that City and Chelsea have to play, especially in Chelsea's case until the rest of the season. And I think City have 4 games in 11 days. The same goes for Liverpool, where they face each other twice. So that looks good, the Flying Dutchman. You could also do that. So bear that in mind. If Ramsdale is set to be out, I'd probably lean towards what you just said there and take a -4 potentially. Havertz or Mount? I probably would still go for Havertz. He's the informed player at the moment for Chelsea. With Mason Mount, look, he could still come good, and he has been, I wouldn't say consistent, but he's got 8 goals and 8 assists all season. I'm just not exactly sure about that. Trent isn't definitely out, mate. It's just the question of he's in light training, and it's looking unlikely, as things stand anyway, that he's going to start in Game Week 31. Is a Chelsea player essential this week? I wouldn't say they're essential, but they are a big bonus, and they offer some good differentials like Kai Havertz, Reece James, Rudiger. Having 2 of those 3 is a big differential in itself. But there you go, the Flying Dutchman, and actually we could go through that quickly. So what you just proposed there, and I wouldn't blame you if you didn't want to go for Weghorst. I'm not a big fan of him either, to be fair. So Pope, Cancelo and James for Trent, Sace and Ramsdale. That would look pretty good actually. So we'll make a few modifications to your team here and see how it would look. But I'm guessing you've used FPL.team already and you like the look of it. So that makes sense. You also have more money in the bank without having to make that move up front. So yeah, something like that. Cancelo and then Reece James in for Sace. That looks pretty good actually. I like the look of it. And you're covering the 3 best teams defensively. So that looks pretty solid. And for a -4 it would be, but still, it's probably worth it. You know, Pope has a double game week, although one of them is against City. That looks pretty good, mate. That's a good looking team. So now let's move on to the second team. And this is sent in by Stephen Moore. So hopefully you're in the chat and you can offer your thoughts as well and what you're thinking to do. So what I've proposed here, because this is his original team, so I've already made a few transfers. So Dean and Jimenez to James and Weghorst. And I think that would be for free. No free transfer, or should I say hits? Yep, 2 free transfers. You'd have 0.2 million left in the bank. But once again with Weghorst, and I'm going to recommend him a lot in terms of the situations a lot of you have today, because you have Jimenez. It's an easy switch. He's got a double in 33 and also in 31, but I'm not a big fan of Weghorst, so you could always just dead end that striker spot and go really cheap and spend the rest of your money on the rest of your squad. But this looks pretty good here with those 2 free transfers. You could also keep Dean potentially and get rid of Sace instead, because Dean probably has a double in 34, and I think that's against Burnley actually, if I'm not mistaken. So if that's the case, then Dean could be worth keeping it's just he's such a troll, and personally anyway, he never seems to get the points for me. But that's how I would go about it with your team, Stephen Moore. Let me know if you're on the chat, and if not, you can always comment down below if you're watching the stream afterwards. That's what I would probably do with your team. Something like this, I would definitely be getting rid of Jimenez. It's an easy sell. And then one of Sace or Luka Dean out as well. Because you've got a triple up in Wolves, I think getting rid of those one by one is the way to go. In terms of the rest of your team, the other possibilities really that could arise from these moves is that in future weeks, going into Game Week 33, you could avoid using the free hit, move Heung-min Son to Bruno Fernandes, but I do believe that would require another downgrade elsewhere. So that's why the other possibility to what I just said is downgrading Weghorst completely, getting an extra 1 or 2 million, and that will give you enough money to get Bruno Fernandes, at least for 1 week. You can captain him in Game Week 33, and then moving forwards, you can then bring in Coutinho, for example, and then bring Harry Kane up front. So let me know what you think of that. I think that could also be pretty good for you. Let's see, what else have we missed out on? So yeah, like I said before, it's going to be a bit of a weird stream. Normally, I just look at all your questions and go through them one by one, and also talk about my team in the process, but this will be a bit of a different one. Thank you, Junior. So Linish says, Lacazette, Broja, Kulusevski out for Greenwood from Leeds, Gelhardt, KDB. I'm not sure about those players, to be honest. Especially Greenwood, obviously got a return, I think, in Game Week 30. Gelhardt is a good one, just as a bench fodder option, and also gives you more money. KDB, look, I would love to recommend these sorts of premiums, differentials. I'm just not sure about KDB, and we talked about City having 4 games in 11 days. I think KDB won't play all of them, including in the Premier League. So I would have some doubts about that, but if KDB starts all of those games in the Premier League, then you're striking gold there, and I think is a great transfer, but I'm just not sure. And he does face Liverpool in 32, so even if he does haul, I don't think his ceiling is particularly high. The Flying Dutchman says, another idea I had was going Son, King and Trent to Doherty, Havertz and Ronaldo, yeah, but I don't think that works with Ramsdale probably out. Yeah, I would keep an eye on Ramsdale, and if he is out, I would go for the original transfers you said before, but those transfers also look good, and it also sets you up well for 33, and you don't have to free hit. But if you are going to free hit anyway in 33, I probably would definitely just go for the first set of transfers you just said. Yeah, Son being a good option this week, to be fair. Yes, he is. His home record is really good, and he's got the most goals of any player at home. 2 City defenders, 2 Liverpool defenders is a way to go. Personally, look, it's just kind of nitpicking. I would rather go for 2 of one of those teams you just said. Ideally, it would be Liverpool if you can afford it. Go for 1 City defender in Cancelo and 1 Chelsea defender, but that's fine as well. And you're covering the 2 best defences and teams in the league, so that's a good idea, to be honest. Let's see, what else do we have? Son plus Jimenez to Gordon and Kane from -4. Yes, I think it's worth it, to be fair. The only thing is that Son could outscore Kane, so it might backfire this week, but long term, that -4 is worth it. City will destroy Burnley. I believe that City will win, but the kind of benefit of bringing in a Nick Pope or Weghorst is that they've got multiple doubles to come and some good fixtures, but Weghorst is awful, to be honest. Yeah, I don't think most of us are a big fan of Weghorst. I actually was a big advocate of him in Game Week 26 because he had that double in 26. He obviously played, well, he had a double in 27 as well, actually, and multiple games yet to be rescheduled, which are going to be happening right now. And he also showed some good form in his first few games of, starting his account in the Premier League. But it just recently, ever since that performance against Brighton, he's been awful, absolutely awful. The stats are woeful as well. Yeah, maybe he's not awful, but I'm not sure. And also when you factor in that one of the doubles is against City, yeah, obviously anything he gets in that game is a bonus, really. And against Everton, he could do really well. Yeah, Hamza, like what we're doing right now is going through some of the teams that I've sent in through the messages. And then afterwards, potentially, I'll try to go through some more messages and also in the live chat, bring the IDs into the FPL.team and we can show your teams as well. But obviously, I'm going to try to go for as many teams as possible, but it will be quite difficult to go for everything. I did -16 for James, Cancelo, Robertson and Greenwood. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of big hits here. I saw someone earlier take a -20. Fair enough. I like the Robertson, Cancelo and James transfers. I'm guessing Greenwood is just for bench fodder, but yeah, I'm not sure about that. Gelhardt won't take Bamford's spot. James will. Yeah, but the thing with Gelhardt and the reason why I talked about getting him in potentially is just to dead end that third striker spot. That's pretty much it, really. ¿Recomiendas vender a Trent? Es difícil porque él puede jugar en la jornada 31, pero no sé. Por todas las noticias que se están mostrando ahora, parece que no va a jugar y va a volver para el partido en contra City, que va a ser muy importante. Pero sí, creo que hay lógica por venderlo, pero No sé, todavía tengo dudas y lo voy a tener por ahora, creo. Can I send you my team right now? I'm going to go through some more teams first. So try to, keep your teams. I'm seeing more people send their IDs. Try to send them in later in the chat because I want to go through these ones first, and then we'll go through these ones as well. Cucho nailed. I wouldn't say he's completely nailed, but with the form he's in, it'd be very harsh if he was just benched all of a sudden. If Eggleston and Double in 31 would have sold him, yeah, pretty much. His form is absolutely awful. So I don't agree with that, or should I say I do agree with that. Laporte plus Gordon plus Brownhill or Marty, Maddison, Ramsey. Oof, I'm on a wild card. It's a difficult one. I mean, having Gordon and Brownhill, I wouldn't do that because you're getting two bench fodder options in midfield. I would rather dead end your strikers, if anything. So I would go for the second set of players there, Amar, but I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of either trio. Captain Kane over Salah, there's actually an argument here. And if I had Kane, I would heavily consider it, actually. But, Salah is Salah. He is going to be the template pick this week. But, yeah, it's going to be pretty difficult. Gracias, Thomas. De Noel. Dylan always speaking Spanish catches me off guard. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it does. Cancelo, James and Broja for Jimenez, Trent and Williams for a -8. Yeah, I like it. And even if Broja doesn't start, he's a bench fodder option. I like that. So I'll try to go through the questions as well later on. But hopefully, Stephen, you got that. And if not, you can always go through it later on. Let's go through the third team here. And this is sent in by Marco. So thank you very much, Marco. So he actually told me as well what chips he has left. And once again, just like with the Flying Dutchman, I think free hit in 33, wildcard 34, and bench boost 36 would be the best thing. Once again, Jimenez, getting rid of him is probably the best course of action as well. You can get Weghorst or dead end that striker spot. The thing I would say potentially, and it might sound a bit weird, it's probably too much money invested in this attack. And obviously, I brought in Weghorst for you, for Jimenez, so I made a few changes to this team. You already had Calvert-Lewin, so I would definitely keep him for this. And if we look at Fantasy Football Hub, actually, I think he's the second highest in terms of projected points in Game Week 31 because of that double. I'm not quite so sure about that, but there you go. Maybe the algorithm is right here. And the other move that I recommended is a Wolves defender. So you had two, I think, Cody and Seiss. You can move one of them to Robertson or James. So obviously if it's Seiss, you can afford Robertson. And if it's Cody, you can then afford Reece James. But yeah, hopefully you got that, Marco. And let me know, what would you rather do? Would you rather do Seiss to Robertson or would you do Cody to James? Robertson would be my preference, but both look pretty good. The only reason I went for James here is just to go for basically the opposite of what my preference is, really. But let me know what you think of that as well. And I think you're pretty well set for the future weeks as well. So 32, your team would also be pretty sound. I think I already organised it in terms of the transfers I already made in Game Week 31. In Game Week 33, only a few blanks, Ramsey, Cody and Rafinha. So you don't really need to free hit in 33. You could actually save in 37 if you're not really feeling it. And you would also get rid of players like Salah, potentially Kane, Trent, if you're free hitting, which might not sit right with you. But you do bring in someone like Bruno Fernandes or Cristiano Ronaldo in the process. So there's quite a lot of kind of pros and cons behind the free in 33. I think 37 free hit could be pretty good for you as well. So just consider it as well. But I definitely would be looking to wildcard in 34 or 35 and then bench boost in 36. It definitely doesn't make any sense to bench boost in 33. The same goes for you, Flying Dutchman. So hopefully you caught all of that. I'll try to go for a few more comments and then go on to the next team as well. So Mateta or Cucho says, Golden Boys. I would still prefer Cucho right now just because he's shown a bit more in the Premier League in recent games, but both of them are a bit... they're basically bench fodder options, budget options, so I wouldn't expect too much. No worries, Sudindra. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for tuning in later on. Matip as a 1 week differential alongside Robertson, Cancelo, and James. Yeah, and to be honest, I talked about skipping Matip a few weeks ago. He's been really good ever since. It's just there's always that doubt in my mind that he's going to be benched. And I don't think he can play 2 games in the matter of a few days because of his injury record. That's what puts me off. But as a 1 week differential, it makes sense, Steve. Let's see. I missed a few questions above as well, so apologies for that. Harry says, hi Dylan, Weghorst is a season keep for me due to the fact I don't really care about the strikers. Yeah, exactly. Fair enough. And the reason why he's in these kind of drafts and he's in the recommended transfers for me is because people have Jimenez. It's an easy swap. You get double game week. So even if Weghorst blanks, which is very likely, he gets 4 points. And that Everton game is good. It's just do not expect too much from Weghorst. And the stats are awful. Dennis or Cucho? I would go, well, better player, I'm not sure. Speaking to Watford fans, they actually think that Cucho's the better player, but then again, they really like Dennis when he had that purple patch early on in the season. On current form, it's definitely Cucho, but you have to still say it's Dennis overall. It's just he's been really poor in the last, you could say, 10 game weeks, actually. What else have we got? So, out which one? Maddison, Mount, Foden, and your thoughts on the best budget Man City mid? Budget Man City mid, I guess I'd say Foden, but I'm not a big fan of any of them. Bernardo Silva has just been a blank machine, and he's still, I think, the highest scoring midfielder for City. De Bruyne and Sterling are really interesting, but they're not budget, so pretty much it has to be Foden. I'm not that sure about Riyad Mahrez in the Premier League. Do you think Mahrez starts this game week? Really difficult to say, because I'm not sure what Pep's thought process is here, but there tends to be a lot of rotation heading into the game straight after the international break. There is a bit of a trend there. Normally it's based on form, and he just goes for the rhythm, building multiple games in a row for certain players. So it's a tough one to say. I think Mahrez will start, but I could be completely wrong, and I wouldn't bring him in, honestly. Thoughts on Trent to Cancelo? I think it's a good move anyway, and if you have Robertson, I probably would do it. Hotspur. 5 premium defenders versus 4 premium defenders. Look, as much as I really like the premium defenders, I think 4 is probably the sweet spot. I think 5 is too much, because you also want to invest in your midfield as well. Welcome, Keith. Thank you for tuning in. Kane to Ronaldo in Game Week 32 and then bring back Kane for 34. That is a shout, but then Kane does have... It's a tough one, isn't it? It is a tough one. I actually still prefer Kane with his single, compared to Ronaldo, so I probably wouldn't do it, Karaki, but I can see why you're thinking about it. Yeah, in terms, Anu, you can send it in the live chat later on, but just don't do it yet, because otherwise I won't be able to go through, your team. I want to go through everything, but I want to give good answers, at least to the best of my ability. So I'm going through these teams first, and then afterwards, you can put it in the live chat, or you can send it on Twitter, Instagram, DylanRCM. So that's how you can send your teams in. That's how these people also did it. I put a community post as well, and people just send, so many teams. So thank you very much to everyone who's done so. And if you haven't already, you know the drill. Smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Thank you to everyone who's already done so. Let's now go through more teams. We've gone through a few already, but still a long way to go. And it's going to be very difficult to go for everything, but I'll try my very best. So the next one is sent in by Weiseng. So I think you're in the chat right now. You can let me know what you think of this. I could be completely wrong by what I'm suggesting here. So my suggestion is to either roll, but if Trent is out or you think he's going to miss out, I would move him to Robertson or Reece James. So let me know what you think of that, because let me check here just to make completely sure. Yeah, you've only got 1 free transfer. So I think that's the best course of action, to either roll or move Trent out for one of those players. Now, I think I heard something of Robert Sanchez actually potentially being out in Game Week 31. And long term, you could go for a Ramsdale if he's fit, and also for Kasper Schmeichel, for example. So that is something else to think about. You could potentially take a -4. You could get Nick Pope as well in for Sanchez, but I think you were one of those that said you don't really expect Burnley to do that well against City. So let me know what you think. But one thing you could do actually, apart from rolling and getting rid of Trent for 1 free transfer, is, let's say for example, going for Robertson, and then that will give you enough money to get most keepers that you'd want. You could get Nick Pope here, and you kind of make up for that hit. Even if it's not this week, Pope has multiple doubles in the future and some good fixtures. So you could do something like this way, saying, let me know what you think. I could be wrong about this. Just some suggestions. And let me see what else. I think you told me which chips you have. Yeah. So you've got the free hit, wildcard, and bench boost left. So let's look at your team. Heading into 32, that's pretty fine actually. In terms of players to really get rid of, I probably would say those on your bench. So James, Watkins and Wood, I definitely would be looking to get rid of them. Especially, in the case of Daniel James, after Game Week 32, so heading into 33 when he blanks, that's a great time to get rid of him. Even Chris Wood, I'd probably get rid of. Watkins you could keep, because he does potentially have a double in 34 and some good fixtures after, the next few game weeks. But yeah, going into Game Week 33, so yeah, you've got a few blanks. Once again, 3 people blanking, but that's fine. And your team would be in good shape. I mean, Chris Wood does have that double in 33, but I'm just not sure about him. Still, you're in good shape. I think I would definitely prioritise around Game Week 33 selling James. But what you could also do is just free hit in 33, wildcard 34, 35, and then bench boost 36. So let me know what you think. But that's kind of how I would go about it. in terms of captaincy in 33, that's where you could change it, go for a double game week player. You could actually, so if we look at your team, oh yeah, you'd be 0.2 million off, by the way, in terms of getting Nick Pope, so just consider that as well. What you could do is get rid of Son for Bruno Fernandes in Game Week 33 and captain him if you decide not to free it there. So for those of you who are looking to maybe avoid using the free in 33, you could potentially use it in 37 instead, or even 36. But I just think if you have the bench boost, it's a great opportunity to use it in the biggest double game week potentially of the season. So let me know what you think. Are you more leaning towards the kind of rolling the transfer, making one free transfer, or taking a hit potentially? But unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to take that -4 that I just recommended, which is a bit of a shame. I definitely wouldn't be going into the -8 territory. The alternative would be just to go for Reece James instead of Robertson, and then you could easily afford that as well. Yeah, thank you, Anu. Obviously, hopefully you can understand. I'd love to go for every single team that's in the live chat right now, but unfortunately, it's very difficult for me to do that, as well as the teams that I just sent. Yeah, in terms of, you can send the teams on Twitter, and I'll try to go through your, teams as well later on. But right now, I've got a set amount, so I've got like 10 or 11 ready. Then I can prepare some more during the live stream as I answer your questions. But yeah, just try to be patient. Obviously, I appreciate that you want all your questions answered. Yeah, thank you, Karaki. Thank you very much. Let's see, what else have I missed? So, well, Hospa, I can give you a quick kind of summary right now because you put your team in the live chat. So, my team: Ramsdale, Sarr, Robertson, Trent, Rudiger, Tierney, Doherty, Salah, Son, Saka, Ramsey, Willock, Che Adams, Broja, and Jimenez. I've used all my chips as well. Okay, fair enough. Okay. I think what I'd probably look to do. How much money do you have in the bank, by the way? That would also be key in what you decide to do later on. Because, for example, if Ramsdale is out, you could easily downgrade him to a Ben Foster. But then, if you look at Jose Sarr blanking in 33, the ideal scenario for your goalkeepers is to have someone like Nick Pope or Ramsdale for the long term, even Schmeichel potentially. Downgrade Jose Sarr to get more money to a Ben Foster, for example. Looking at your defence is fine. But if Trent is out and you don't want him for 32 or 33, you could get rid of him. Another great source of income. You could get Cancelo in for him, or even a cheaper defender. And one other thing you could do, Hosper, is going into Game Week 33, as I recommended with some of these teams already, getting Bruno Fernandes for Heung-min Son. And then the following week, going into Game Week 34 potentially, you can make 2 transfers, whether it's for a -4 or 2 free transfers. You can get rid of Bruno Fernandes for someone like Coutinho, and then upgrade one of your strikers to Harry Kane. But definitely the one player right now that stands out as a sell is Jimenez. So you could go to Weghorst potentially. That is what you could do. And then in Game Week 34, what I just recommended, Hosper, you can move Che Adams up to Harry Kane. Should I take out Son and Arnold for Salah and Matip? I probably wouldn't, John. I can see why you're doing it, but I probably wouldn't. What do you think about Lamptey and Kilman? Should I get rid of them? I probably would get rid of them either way, whether it's this week or in Game Week 33 in the case of Kilman, but I would get rid of him. And as for Lamptey, yeah, to be honest, it just depends who you want to bring in though, because if you're bringing in someone like Connor Roberts, fair enough, he's got multiple doubles, or a defender from one of those top teams who can get you a lot of points, but otherwise, you could just prioritise other transfers instead. Savio says, have a no Salah team for whenever you do teams in the chat. Okay, fair enough. So yeah, I think there's going to be a few no Salah teams potentially, and I actually recommend to some people to bring in Salah. Basically, you don't have to, by the way, considering the form. Let me just get Wei Sing's comments and also Marco, because obviously I reviewed your teams as well. Then I will also go through the other teams that I have here. But yeah. Should I take out Trent or Cancelo for James? I probably would take out Trent just because he's more likely to miss out on Game Week 31, Hassan. But then with Cancelo, some people might think, he's going to be benched, but I think I'd sell Trent in that case, Hassan. As of today, FPL.team now also lets you compare, yes, the Flying Dutchman, and I actually have a tab ready to show you my 2 teams and my 2 potential transfers, but I might save it for the deadline stream as well. Wei Sing says, yes, that's my plan. I really want to change my goalkeeper, but as things stand, I'm planning to change it on the wild card. Fair enough, yeah. That makes sense, actually. That's exactly what I was thinking. Bruno could come in for Son. Okay, fair enough. Maybe that just reinforces what you believe as well already. Since Liverpool playing Man City and Man United soon, so I want to get the defence after the fixture. Yeah, that makes sense, Wei saying. I think you've got a good team and a good plan. You've got all those chips available, so you're in a strong position. Yeah, Tech, try to send the team afterwards because we've still got like let's see how many more. Yeah, around 6-7 more teams left. Then I'll try to go through some more teams. We've also gone through some in the live chat, but in terms of those being shown on screen, yeah, there's plenty more to go first. So yeah, try to send it afterwards if possible. Thank you, the Flying Dutchman, as well. Much appreciated. Is top 10k still the target? My target really is to better, my rank from last season, which was around 55k. It's not great, it's not ideal, but considering where I am, I think it's a realistic target as well. But yeah, top 10k I definitely want to finish, whether it's this season or next season, but obviously I have made a few mistakes along the way. Do you think Ramsdale will start this game week or not? It's a difficult one. I think with Trent I'm a bit more kind of certain, or at least convinced, that he won't start. With Ramsdale I'm not sure. He hasn't trained as of yet, and that is a worry, but he has until Monday, so he has plenty of time. It's just a question of how he kind of recovers in time for that. But as things stand, obviously it looks really doubtful, but if you're asking me, my gut feeling, I have a sneaky feeling that he's going to be fine, but I could be completely wrong, so let's wait and see. So Marcus says, thanks for the advice. May remove Trent based on news. Not keen on Burnley. Yeah, maybe Weghorst at a push. Looking to try and target players just for 2 game weeks. Yeah, like Chelsea or similar. May consider free at 37 now, though. Yeah, exactly. Obviously, we don't know the full picture in terms of, free at 37 or the doubles there. But we have an idea, and I think that looks pretty good, Marco. You're in a good shape anyway. And yeah, I only recommended those transfers because they seemed quite simple. The other possibility really is to completely dead end that third striker spot and go for a 5 million striker like Cucho or Mateta. Let's see, what else do we have? Just a note, Live FPL, yeah, has an overhaul and is pretty good. Rivals FPL teams now. Recommend you check it out. Yeah, thank you very much, Harry. I'll check it out as well. There's so many, all these different sites. It looks like the competition is bringing out the best in them because they're bringing in these new features all the time. I can't keep up, I think today both of them, brought something new to the game. So yeah, thank you very much, Harry. I'll take a look at it as well. Let's see. So Hospice says 0.5 million left in the bank. Let me try to go back up to your team quickly. So let's see. Yeah, I think downgrading Jimenez would be the best course of action. It also gives you plenty of money. So whether you go to Weghorst or go even cheaper, it depends. But yeah, hopefully you got that in terms of the plans I gave, in terms of, you can get Bruno Fernandes in for Son in a few weeks, then downgrade to Coutinho, and they get Harry Kane up front. There's a few things you could do in the next few weeks to maximise your points there. Yeah, Connor, in terms of sending your teams, try not to do it just yet, but later on, send it in the live chat. So put your team ID or send it through Twitter or Instagram if you want your team ID to be discreet, because just bear in mind, obviously, if you've got like a team ID or, some kind of weak emails and passwords, obviously hacking is quite rife in FPL. So try to be careful with that. That's why I encourage a lot of people to just send it through a private message, just a team ID. Never share your FPL email or password with anyone. Jota or Havertz? I'd have to say Havertz right now. With Jota, too many question marks in terms of the minutes he's going to be sharing with Diaz and all these other players. So I'd probably say Havertz right now. Waysing says Sanchez, Reguilon, Nuri, Watkins, Wood and James are the ones I'm finding a way to sell, so I'm going to wildcard. Yeah, that makes sense, Waysing. I think I agree with that. And especially if Sanchez, it looks like he's going to be out for Game Week 31, it just makes sense. But obviously, you would rather make that goalkeeper transfer in Game Week 34. Does swapping Trent to Robertson make sense? I think it does, because he's going to possibly miss out in Game Week 31. Robertson's in better form anyway, so I think it does make sense, to be fair. Would you sell Coutinho for a hit? It depends who you bring in, Ryan, honestly. Yeah. That is a mistake, not starting James for Leeds against Southampton. Yeah, fair enough. Obviously, in my opinion, let's see. Which team are we on right now? I think we're on Waysing's team. I'm almost, kind of losing my mind here already. Yeah, that's a possibility. You could go for him over 8 Nuri. I think Waysing would probably go for James, but either way, he's a sell heading into Game Week 33 when he does blank indeed. So yeah, I think Waysing, your team is looking pretty solid. You're in good shape. Let me just try to go through the other teams first, and then we'll try to go through even more later on. So the next team is sent in by Sudindra. So obviously, much appreciate you tuning in, and you can always watch it on the replay. So Jimenez to Weghorst is pretty much the transfer I've made for you, but you don't have to do that. It's kind of similar for a lot of teams because it seems like all of us have Jimenez, but it just makes sense. And you already have Harry Kane. Otherwise, what I would have recommended if you had Son instead was to downgrade Son and then bring in Harry Kane in for Jimenez. But I think it's just an easy transfer. You get a player who's got multiple doubles and some good fixtures, but just bear in mind Weghorst has been pretty awful. And actually, let me show you, since I mentioned it a few times, his stats. Let's compare two of the kind of most popular Game Week 31 double game weekers in Calvert-Lewin and Weghorst. Both of them pretty similar in terms of appearances. Calvert-Lewin obviously had a very long injury. He had a great start to the season, 3 goals in 3 games, but just 1 assist basically since his return. And Weghorst, really good start. I think his first 3 games, looked good against Watford, Man United and Brighton, but ever since he's been awful. I mean, just look at that XG, it's absolutely woeful. Calvert-Lewin's is actually pretty decent, all things considered, so you would argue Calvert-Lewin is probably the better purchase this week. But I think for a lot of people, in terms of the budget and also what you can do with that extra bit of cash, having an extra million, downgrading Jimenez to Weghorst, that gives you more flexibility to upgrade your defence and midfield, and you can always dead end that third striker spot, whether it's Weghorst or someone else. So yeah, let me know, who do you prefer, Calvert-Lewin or Weghorst? Most people are talking about the Burnley Dutchman, but Calvert-Lewin might be the better pick in the end. I had both of them this season. I was burned by both of them, although I did enjoy a 12-point return from Weghorst in Game Week 26, or at least in that Brighton game. So let me know what you think of this comparison. But as you can see, I talked about it multiple times. I referred to it. The stats for Weghorst are absolutely awful. You can just see it right there. I like eating chicken. Who's your worst transfer this season? Jimenez or Dennis? There's plenty, Wasting. There's plenty. So a few times I try to take risks, like I think Double Gameweek 22. Instead of doing a simple move like I think it was Salah to Bruno Fernandes, I think it was, I instead did some mental gymnastics and I went for Trossard and Ronaldo from -4. That backfired massively because I would have captained Bruno. So that was probably my worst transfer, bringing in Trossard and Ronaldo. That was my mistake, obviously, although Bruno was fortunate to get such a big return. Other moves, yeah, Edouard, just like you, I got burned by him. He looked like he was really good. Everyone was talking about wildcarding him in. He was a great choice on the wildcard, great stats. And then, yeah, he just suddenly got dropped. So he was another one. Very unlucky, though, I'd say, for everyone who brought him in. And then, yeah, Jimenez, at least he got me some returns along the way. But, yeah, he has been a poor one. I never liked Jimenez all season, and people were kind of slating me because I talked about skipping him and selling him, so many times in my transfer tips videos. But I just genuinely didn't see the hype. Dennis got me a few returns as well. So I don't think he's my worst pick, but obviously the captaincy in that double game week as well did burn me. Start Burns or Tierney? I'd actually start Barnes potentially, even though the fixture is tougher on paper. My team is okay further on, but I can see an overall better team. Exactly. And the wildcard isn't just about, oh, my team is awful, I need to wildcard, but also being proactive and just improving it in general. So I think that's good. Could you make a wildcard team for a bench boost in 36? I'll try to at some point, but it'll be difficult to do it in this stream because we're already talking about a lot of teams, not only in the live chat, but also sent in on Twitter and Instagram. So I'll try, but probably that will be a video, closer to the time. So around Game Week 34 potentially, when most people will be wildcarding, those of you who have it left. Yeah, DCR if he's fit, I agree, Karaki. Let's see. I'll try to skim through these questions as well. I don't want to leave anyone out. Obviously, I'm trying my best. Is it better to go for Cancelo or James? Not sure which is going to be better. Great question. I think I'd still go for Cancelo just about. The problem is he is a bit more expensive, and in terms of Game Week 31 specifically, there is an argument that both of them could miss out. Cancelo's got 4 games in 11 days. As for Reece James, he's also got the Champions League and FA Cup that Chelsea will probably prioritise because I think they will secure third, but they're not quite there yet to really challenge for the title against Liverpool and City. So I would probably go for Cancelo, Will. Yeah. Broja to Weghorst or wait? Oof, it's tough. I mean, I think Jimenez to Weghorst makes sense, and to be fair, Broja to Weghorst does as well, but I would rather downgrade the striker spots rather than investing more money. Unless you're starting to get Harry Kane in, which makes sense. Apart from that, I would look to downgrade the rest of your spots. So I'm not sure about Broja to Weghorst personally, but it's still not a bad move. Wasting says it's now or never. Keep Trent. I'm personally keeping Trent, but I can see why some of you might not do the same. And it's all team dependent. For some of you it makes sense. You don't have Robertson, you have no Liverpool coverage. He might miss out in Game Week 31. You could do an easy swap there. Hi Dylan, seems it's been ages. Yeah, it has been ages to be fair. Thank you very much for tuning in once again. I think it's been a few weeks now, hasn't it? Like almost 2 weeks. Yeah, I think on the Saturday it'll be 2 weeks, or on the Sunday. It's been a long time, but we are back, and yeah, hopefully everyone enjoys this as well. Let's see, Weghorst and Rafinha -4 or Mateta and Havertz -8? Oh, that's a great question. The thing is, as much as I like Rafinha for the next 2 game weeks, I'm not sure about bringing him in right now. I'd actually rather go for Barnes or Maddison despite their tougher game this week. So I'd probably go for the -4 Krishna, but I'm not sure about Rafinha. Rafinha is the type that I'd keep for the next 2 weeks, but I wouldn't bring him in. I don't think it's the time right now. Does swapping Trent for Robertson make sense? Yes, it does, JJ, yeah. Thank you, Archit. Can anyone give me a replacement for Willock? I think, well, there could be a few. I think Gordon. I know he's very cheap. He's just bench fodder, but Gordon, there's Ramsey. I'd say Martinelli could definitely be worth considering. And Gallagher, if you have enough money. I'm not sure what your budget, range is. Fraser's also good. He looks like the better option from Newcastle. But yeah, Sudindra, I talked about your team. Skip, or should I say skip? Wait, have I talked about your team? Yeah, sorry. Okay, no, you see, I'm losing track. Let's go back to it. So I think I was literally going into your team right now. So let's go back here. I think this is your team here. I talked about it briefly, then we talked about the Weghorst stuff. So basically, I recommended the Weghorst transfer. So Jimenez to Weghorst, very standard stuff. But you don't have to. You can always dead end that spot. I've said that phrase so many times today, but I think it's just applicable to most people. And in terms of your chips, yeah, let me know, Sudindra, which chips you have. You might have told me on Twitter. If you have, then my apologies for that. But let me know which chips you have, and then I'll just tell you what I think you should do. But I think this week it's pretty standard stuff, and you only have one free transfer anyway. You could always take a hit, especially if Ramsdale's out, for example. But yeah, I think I'd probably stick to something like this. You've already got 2 Burnley players if you decide to bring in Weghorst. I think you're in a good spot here. You could always captain Kane over Salah, by the way. The same goes for any of you who decide to do the same thing. So this is your team on screen, Sudindra, I believe. So going into Gameweek 32 as well, I think I sorted it out already. Yeah, in terms of the captaincy, I'd go for Harry Kane instead of Mohamed Salah there. And you're in pretty decent shape here, but you could always roll the transfer either in Gameweek 31 or in Gameweek 32, and then you can have 2 heading into 33. But if you're looking to use the free hit anyway, then there's not really any point of rolling the transfer just for the sake of it. But yeah, let me know. I have 1 free hit and 1 bench boost left. Okay, so once again, let's look at your team at 33. I think that's kind of going to be the key decider. So Rafinha is blanking, so is Ramsey. We could do something like this. You've got De Gea and Ramsdale there. I'd probably still favour Ramsdale. I would also go for... yeah, Ivan Toney in. I think you're in pretty good shape here. You don't need to free hit, but you are missing out potentially on a Ronaldo, a Bruno Fernandes, etc. and a few other double game weekers. But having 2, 3, 4... yeah, 4 double game weekers is not the greatest. Obviously, you've got De Gea as well, but he's not going to be on the bench. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. I think you could either free it in 33 or 37, Sudindra. I think that's what I would look to do. Obviously, we don't have the full picture in terms of the doubles in 37 yet. And also, let me just go back to this quickly. In terms of your bench boost, I think 36 is the best time to use it. Just more doubles, more opportunities for your players to have double game weeks. I think that would be the best thing as well. But yeah, let me know what you think, by the way, Sudindra. And if you have any other ideas, obviously it could be even better than mine, and then I could also maybe give my take on it as well. Will Weghorst outscore Wood by more than 4 points? Both terrible XGI. Newcastle better double game week 33, but Weghorst 1 extra fixture. Great question. I think we also have to compare the quality of those fixtures. Will he outscore by more than 4 points? I'm not sure about more than 4 points, but... I think Weghorst will score more points. I'm just not sure if it'll be by more than 4, if you catch my drift there. But I'm not a big fan of either of them, as you could probably tell. Bring Weghorst if I'm free hitting in 33. That's the thing. The main attraction of bringing in Weghorst, if there is an attraction to begin with, is to have the doubles in 31, 33 and potentially 34. So that does reduce the appeal a little bit, because if you're going to free in 33 anyway, you could bring him in then, or just go for other options entirely. So I still think yes, but... Krishna, what you could also do is just bring a cheap striker like Mateta, Kucha Hernandez or Gelhardt even, and just focus on the defence and midfield. With your strikers, the only striker I'd really consider is Harry Kane. The only striker I'd actually invest a lot of money in. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it. But obviously things can change. Maybe Ronaldo can start showing some form. He could be the main captaincy option in 33 as well. Thoughts on Foden? He's probably my favourite City midfielder, and actually in away games he's looking really good. But I'm just not sure about bringing him in, to be honest. Was thinking Trent, Hoover to James Cancelo Robertson this week, then Ramsey and Jimenez DCL to Havertz and Kucha next week. May ignore Robbo Cancelo to miss the Man City Liverpool game though. Yeah, I can see what you mean. I'll try to go back to your team quickly just so we can get a visualization of what you're talking about. So in Game Week 31, I think what I recommended to you was, yeah, a Wolves defender and Jimenez, yeah, for Robertson, James or Weghorst. I think, yeah, fair enough. And actually on screen, I actually went for James instead. That looks pretty good. Yeah, Havertz and Kucha next week. I like those plans, Marco. I think any of those, including the ones I proposed on screen, also look good. You don't even have to take a hit, but you're in pretty good shape as well. So let's move on to the next team. So the 6th team here overall, and I think this is the one. Yes, so this is by Harvey by Ford. So the 2 transfers I've recommended to him, it's going to be quite a bit of a recurring theme here. Jimenez and Saiss to Weghorst and James. I think that's what I would do. 2 free transfers. I would use it that way. But once again, you don't have to go for Weghorst. He's not a great option, let's be honest. I would not captain Weghorst, by the way, for any of you who are bringing him in or have him already. I would just go for Harry Kane or Salah, pretty much. So yeah, captaincy for Harvey by Ford, up to you. It's between Kane and Salah. Take your pick there. And I think you're in pretty good shape, actually. You know, if Trent is fit, you've got him and Robertson, you've got Reece James as well. In terms of, you know, who to start as well between Aït-Nouri, Ramsey and Fraser, it's up to you. I'd probably go for Aït-Nouri. Fraser could arguably be higher up in the pecking order here. And Rafinha is one of those players I'd look to sell in Game Week 33. But yeah, this looks pretty good, actually, Harvey by Ford. Going into Game Week 32, I'm not sure which chips you have left, but which obviously does inform the decisions you make on later on. So I can't give you the full picture here, unfortunately. 32, your team is also pretty well set. Captaincy, I'd go for Harry Kane. I think it's pretty simple there. And your bench isn't too bad. Fraser could be your first sub or even start, actually, to be fair. So that looks good. Lacazette is another one that you could get rid of, and you can just downgrade him, and you can use that extra money to potentially bring in Bruno Fernandes in your midfield. That could look pretty good. So let's say, for example, Harvey by Ford, if you aren't free hitting in 33, I mean, Lacazette he does have a double in 33, so I guess I would keep him in that case. I mean, you've got quite a lot of doublers here, actually. It looks pretty good here, so we'll do something like this. Livramento, I don't expect him really to start, so that could be an issue. But yeah, Rafinha is the one I'd get rid of, and Aït-Nouri. Ramsey could just keep, he's a bench fodder, don't worry about him. But Rafinha and Aït-Nouri, those are the 2 players I think you definitely need to focus on to get rid of, apart from Jimenez and Saiss, which I already recommended for you. So hopefully you got that, and obviously anyone in the live chat, you can also offer your thoughts as well. Yeah, in terms of the team IDs, try to save them for later on in the chat. I'm going to go through a few more before showing more teams on screen. Hello, I have 2 free hits left. When should I use them? 33 and 36. So Hamunda, do you have any other chips left? If you don't have the bench boost left, then yes, I probably would free hit in both of those weeks. But if you have the bench boost, then I think I would go for 33 and 37. But I'm guessing those are the only 2 chips you have left. And I think what you just said is probably the best course of action. If you're in a situation where you like your team in 33 and you don't see the need to actually free hit, and you might get rid of some players that you really like Harry Kane or Salah, in that case, I would just go for 36 and 37 potentially. Well, actually, you can't free hit in back-to-back weeks, my bad. You can just free hit maybe in 36 and maybe 38. This is something I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, but there's a lot of rotation. There tends to be a lot of rotation in the final game week of the season. So free hitting in 38 is quite a powerful tool. I think quite a lot of people did it last season or the season before that. So just bear that in mind. Salah to be benched with the recent run of games to come. It's a possibility, but I wouldn't count on it. That's the way I see it. I think he will start. The other players like Diaz and Jota also featured in international football in the last few days as well, with arguably even shorter rest times than Salah. But obviously a lot of people are kind of reading too much into the Salah, psyche based on, being knocked out of the World Cup as well by Senegal again. So let's wait and see. But I think Salah will play. Dylan, my transfer is going to be Jimenez to Weghorst. Would you take a hit for Trent to James or Cancelo? Oof. It depends which players you have coming off your bench if Trent misses out, FPL Dream. But if it's someone you're not really, a big fan of, you think they're not going to do too well, in that case, I would take the hit and get rid of Trent potentially. But just don't make the transfers yet. Wait and see if you can get any information before that deadline. And if Trent is ruled out indefinitely, then I would get rid of him. And I prefer Cancelo if you can afford it. And what I mean by that, obviously you can afford it, but if you would rather go for James and then spend the rest of that money because you're going to have a bit more in the bank, then it might make sense to go for James. But if budget isn't an issue, I would go for Cancelo. Free at 33 and wildcard 34, bench boost 36. I've pretty much recommended that to everyone here that is sending their teams because I think it makes sense for them. In the case that you didn't have the bench boost in 36, I would actually prioritise or favour the free hit in 36 over 33 potentially. But yeah, that looks pretty good, FPL Dream. Lee says, please save me. I don't think you need saving, mate, but don't worry. What should I do? No chips left. Ramsdale, Foster, Trent, Robbo, Cancelo, Laporte, Dean, Salah, Son, Kulusevski, Saka, Gallagher, Broja, Weghorst, Jimenez. Okay, so yeah, Lee, in terms of your team, it's actually pretty good. I like your defence, although you could argue, obviously, you've got a lot banking on those two teams, but they're two great teams to bank on. I think what I would do is potentially downgrade one of your defenders and then look to get Harry Kane up front. So let's see how many Spurs players you have. I think, yeah, you've got Son, Kulusevski, and that's it, I think. Yeah, so you have that spot ready for Kane. I think Jimenez to Kane would be ideal. And then in order to facilitate that, Trent to a cheap defender, I think could be the way to go. I'm not sure what your budget is, Lee, but Trent to a, let's say, for example, 4.5 million defender could be the way to go there. Let me know how much budget you have, and that would definitely be ideal. The rest looks pretty solid. I wouldn't be in a rush to get rid of them. The only thing, obviously that is the ideal scenario, but if Ramsdale's the one that's out and Trent is fit, then I definitely would just focus on your goalkeeper, make a goalkeeper transfer there, get Schmeichel, Nick Pope, etc. I think that is the way to go. Salah captaincy pick easy. He will be stealing all Mane scoring opportunities. I'm not sure if he's... I'm not sure he will take it that personally, Sadio Mane, obviously, he's not going to just miss a penalty on purpose just because Salah is going to miss out on the World Cup. They're both fighting for the same thing. A lot is made of that kind of rivalry. Maybe Salah will be greedier than usual. Maybe he'll have a fire under his belly, maybe. But I'm not sure if he's going to be kind of, jealous or, kind of mad towards Mane. Cheers, Dylan. Thanks for your help. I'm planning to downgrade Jimenez to a cheap striker, then sell Trent if injured, and Ramsey to James and Foden, or maybe Cancelo and Havertz. I would rather go for Cancelo and Havertz, but I do like the James and Foden moves as well. And you can always go for James and Havertz instead of going for Cancelo. I think all of them look pretty good, Sudindra, for you. Yeah, fair enough, Tech. I'll try to go through it later on, if possible. Yeah, thank you very much for sending it in. Once again, for everyone who's sending in their team IDs, try to save it in for later on because we've still got quite a few more teams left to go through. And wow, it's already been quite a long... Wow, it's been nearly an hour. It doesn't feel like it, but thank you very much to everyone who's been tuning in. You can send in your team IDs, but I'd recommend doing it later on because I'm not going to be able to, use your team IDs right now because I've already got a few more planned out. So that was Harvey's team. Let's go through Emmanuel's team right now. Everything's all set here. And this is Emmanuel's team, and I will talk about it in just a second. Alright, so Emmanuel, the things I recommended to you is actually potentially getting rid of Trent and Coutinho for Tierney and Salah, because Emmanuel was one of those that don't have Salah, which is very, very rare. I would still bring him in despite what people think. You can always captain Kane over Salah if you wish, but I think that is the way to go. In terms of your budget, what you'd have left, I think you'd have exactly zero. This would be from -4. It's very tight, but you've got exactly enough money to make these moves. You could even do them today. Just going into the future, what you should bear in mind is that Jose Sarr probably isn't the best keeper to have until the end of the season. There's Schmeichel, Nick Pope and Ramsdale if fit. I'd go for one of those, potentially in Game Week 33. So you've only got the bench boost left, and in that case I think it's quite easy. I'd use it in 36 because if we take a quick look at Game Week 32, you look pretty well set there as well. I wouldn't bench Maddison and Pereira, by the way. It's just how the team was already originally defaulted. But then again, you've got some kind of bench selection headaches in 32. You've got a good team there. But in 33, this is looks pretty good as well. So let's sort this out quickly. To be fair, I think bench boost 36 looks pretty good. I wouldn't use it here, but even if you had the free hit, I don't think you need to use it. You've got a pretty good team. You're well set there. The only thing is, obviously, you need to make a few transfers like Jose Sarr to get a full 11. You can always go for Foster, but I think you'd rather have a better first goalkeeper choice there, Emmanuel. But that's how I would go about it. And I'd bench boost in 36. And if not, there is also another game week potentially like 37, but 36 looks like the ideal and the obvious time to use it. So in 33, the transfers I recommended, in 31, I would recommend getting Salah in and also Tierney for Trent and, did I get it right? Trent and Coutinho. There you go. So it would be from -4, but I think it's worth it and you've got exactly enough funds to do so. And you cover that effective ownership, which could be pretty scary at times. So that is Emmanuel's team. Let me know what you think, whether you're watching now or later on. Leave them down in the comment section. Let's move on to the next team here. which is sent in by Royale. Jimenez to Vercourt, standard stuff here as the transfer that I recommended. In terms of players that I would kind of think about, so if Ramsdale is out, I don't think it's the end of the world. You do have De Gea there, and he does have a double in 33, so I wouldn't prioritise a goalkeeper transfer in your case. But yeah, if you have Jimenez, the same goes for most of you. I would either downgrade to Vercourt or just a cheaper striker instead. You've got Foden as well. Haven't seen too many teams with Foden and Cancelo. You've also got a double up in Chelsea, with the defence and the midfield. That looks pretty good. I actually like this team as well. Going into Game Week 32, you're also in pretty good shape as well. So Breyer would be on the bench, I guess, yeah, for Cody. But yeah, that looks pretty good as well. And let's see. So Royals team, I'm not sure which chips you have left. So obviously that would also be really crucial in terms of to inform your future plans as well. But in Game Week 33, looking at this, you could actually free hit here. If you have the free hit, I think it's a good time to use it. Even though you have some double Game Week players already, you could get to 7, 8, 9, etc. And also get some better quality captaincy options in Game Week 33. So yeah, let me know which chips you have. But I think I would use the free hit in 33 if you indeed have the chip. Otherwise, you're going to have to get rid of players like Cody and probably Watkins, even Livramento, because I don't expect them to start both games, etc. That's the way I'd go about it. Thank you, Marco. Much appreciated. Thank you, Lee. Yeah, I tried to resist the knee-jerk as well. If I swap Jimenez to Kane, I'll have 4.5. Yeah, Ben White is a good one as well, potentially. Or even, I'm not sure about Marty or Leicester defence, but he could be a nice bench fodder option for you, Lee. Other plan is to change Dean to James. Yeah, I like both of those as well. I like all of those moves as well. Havertz versus Mount versus Foden versus Mahrez. Only one spot available. Havertz. If it's from those four, it has to be Havertz for me. Yeah, that's what I would do. Have Trent, Robbo, Cancelo and James. Thoughts on transfer Trent out to who? And Alisson in as Ramsdale injured. Look, Alisson is the highest scoring goalkeeper in the game, but I'm not sure I would spend that much money. It also gets rid of a Liverpool spot for you, which you would rather have on Trent when he's fit. Also Robertson and Salah. So I'm not sure about that. But yeah, you could always go for Nick Pope, Schmeichel, etc. I'm not sure about Alisson. Deadline stream tomorrow. It's either tomorrow or on the Saturday. I might put a poll out right now and see what you guys think as well. Should I do Trent Son to James Salah or Trent Willock for Havertz, James, or Trent Willock for Cancelo Mount? Wow. Have Kane will free hit 33, wildcard 34, bench boost 36. Okay. I like the first two set of transfers quite a lot, actually. Yeah, I'd either go for James Havertz or for James Salah. And honestly, it's a difficult one because Son could do really well against Newcastle too. But I think I would go for... I'd go for James and Salah, Savio, yeah. Thank you, Karaki. Oh yeah, another one without Salah. I mean, the thing is, you don't need to have him per se. You know, he does face City in 32, but I think against Watford he could go crazy, you know. Rate this possible wildcard team, please. Pope, Doherty, James, Cancelo, Robertson, Havertz, Saka, Foden, Salah, Mount, Kane, Pookie, White, Cucho. I like it. Looking at your forward line, it looks pretty good. And what you could arguably do if you have enough money is go for Che Adams instead of Pookie, but that looks pretty solid. Your midfield, though, let's see. It also looks pretty good. I like Saka, Havertz as well, Salah, even Mount, although Havertz is my preference there. I think that looks pretty good. The defence as well, I don't really have any complaints. It's a solid team. I don't think there's any weakness there. And obviously it's a wildcard team, but it looks pretty good. Yeah, tell me how much money you have in the bank, and then obviously I can give you I can have an idea of what changes you could make potentially. Thank you, Savio. Thank you very much. Hopefully you make the best call in terms of Game Week 31 and beyond. But yeah, I think Salah and James is the way to go personally. Should I switch Son for Mahrez? I have no other Spurs players. I would not get rid of Son for Mahrez, mate, especially this week. Trust me, Lukaku will play some more. Yeah, I think so potentially, especially if Chelsea focus more on the FA Cup and the Champions League. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of Chelsea fans say that. It's probably for good reason. It makes sense. Let's go through the next team. So hopefully I'm kind of not in a complete mess here. So this is Royals team. Let's go through a few more, and then we could potentially, get some team IDs in the chat later on, and same with Twitter and Instagram, and we can bring in some more teams on the screen. But we've rated quite a lot of teams already. On screen, I think we've gone through 8, and also through the live chat, plenty as well. So the next one is by Marcus Chia, and what I've recommended is to either roll or Jimenez or Trent out. So that's kind of what I've recommended here. And you're in pretty good shape as well. So yeah, even without a transfer, you can see here, it's a pretty solid looking team. You've got 5 defenders, but it's a pretty good defence. If Trent is out, then you would have someone like Broja or Ramsey come off the bench, and that isn't ideal. But yeah, you've got 2 free transfers, that's the thing. So yeah, rolling isn't actually the ideal thing to do. You'd want to use 1 free transfer. So I would use 1 transfer there, Jimenez or Trent out, and then roll the other one. You could do 2 or even take a hit, but I would just do 1 transfer, Marcus Gia, and then roll the other one. So looking at this, if Trent, is kind of confirmed out for Game Week 31, he's kind of an easy sell. The problem is Ramsdale could also be out. That is the big problem. So that could be an issue. Ramsdale and Trent for you. In terms of your bench, if Broja doesn't start in Game Week 31, you don't really have a great player coming off to really help you there. So yeah, it's a good team. I like your defence a lot. It's just a few kind of problems there with the injuries of Ramsdale and Trent, but you should be good. Let me know what you're preferring, Marcus. Do you want to prefer to get rid of Ramsdale or Trent or Jimenez? Obviously, Jimenez is the ideal one to sell, but you've got the other injuries there to contend with as well. And in terms of the chips, I'm not sure which chips you have left, but I'll try to get them up. Maybe you told me on Twitter, so give me a second, and I'll try to get through this as well. So yeah, so you're thinking of free at 33, wildcard 34, and bench boost 36. To be honest, I completely agree. If we look at your team for 33 as well, it's a good team, to be fair, but I think I would free hit potentially, yeah. I think that's a good call. Free hitting in 33, and with the other chips in mind, I just think it just makes sense. All lines up perfectly, and that is the way to go. But yeah, heading into Game Week 31, this is the big dilemma, and there's too many question marks surrounding Ramsdale and Trent, so that's going to be the big issue. Jimenez is a definite sell regardless, and on the wild card I'm sure you'll be glad to see the back of him regardless, so that's my kind of thinking there. To get Ronaldo following week, says Kfaz. Fair enough, but I still wouldn't. I wouldn't go for Mahrez because with City having 4 games in 11 days, how many games is Mahrez going to play in the Premier League? I'm not sure, and Son is a better option. I would still have 0.5 million left in the bank. Okay, fair enough. I mean, Tierney is my preference over White, but you'd be 0.1 million off there, so obviously I can understand why you've done that. I'm guessing your second goalkeeper is Ben Foster, but that looks pretty good. I like that team, and I can see why. I'd potentially go for Havertz over Mount, but there's going to be rotation there potentially for both of them, Mount and Havertz. Ramsdale and Trent starting, Foster and Livramento, Kilman to replace. Do I get Pope or go for Foden, Mount, or for Coutinho? Oof. I would go for Pope. I think Pope's a good one, especially just for Ramsdale, and you can have a cheap second goalkeeper there as him. Foden or Mount, yeah, if you can afford it. Havertz would also be a really good one for Coutinho. Just bear in mind, all of them could be rotated, with the amount of games City and Chelsea have and the other competitions, but those all look like good transfers. I like the Pope one to, in for Ramsdale if he does miss out, but I wouldn't have Ramsdale and Pope. Thanks to Dylan, with my back 5, I could end up with only 2. Trent, Cancelo, James, Doherty, Cody. That's just unfortunate because it's a solid looking team as well. I think Reece James should be fine, but let's wait and see. What about Ramsdale though? Yeah, that's the thing. We also have to think about Ramsdale. It's really tough, Ramsdale, Trent, it's kind of completely ruined our plans potentially, and it was looking pretty positive at the beginning of this international break. Ramsdale was supposed to be out for 2 weeks. He should be back in time, for the 4th of April against Palace. More than enough time to recover. It's a race against time here, and Arsenal don't really have like a bad replacement for him. Leno could do the job. They don't have to rush Ramsdale back in. He could be back for 32 or 33, but it's not ideal. And I'm a bit fortunate. I do have Jose Sarr, so that's why I'm not really focusing on Ramsdale myself. But for those of you who have Ramsdale and a budget keeper like Foster, who you don't want to play against Liverpool, then I think a transfer is probably needed if he is looking to miss out. How much of an issue is bringing in a 4.5 million striker to fund Robertson and Havertz when you have a bench boost left? That's a great question. So for those of you with a bench boost left, I would probably go for someone like Weghorst instead. Even though you would miss out on someone like Robertson or Havertz, so be it. But yeah, I think it's quite simple. Those of you who have used the bench boost already, like myself, you'd probably want to use a 4.5 million striker instead. You know, just have as much money to invest in your midfield and defence as possible. The strikers are pretty useless apart from Kane. So I think if you do have the bench boost left, I probably wouldn't go for a 4.5 million striker, although I can understand why, because you would then have to take a hit potentially or book in a transfer later on to then bring in a better striker, unless you resign yourself to bench boosting with a 4.5 million option like Gelhardt. So bear that in mind, but I probably wouldn't do that. If I get into the top 1k this season, it'll be a lifetime achievement. Rank 2.5k currently, you can definitely do it. And I don't think there's a huge difference between where you are and the top 1k. So good luck. Hopefully you achieve it. But yeah, you could definitely get it as well. Welcome, Eddie. Thank you for tuning in. So hi, Dylan. Should I take a -4 to get Havertz, Cancelo, Gelhardt? Team will then be a 3-5-2. Havertz, Cancelo, Gelhardt. Who would it be for, Eddie? Let me know. Which players would you get rid of in order to achieve that? Should I sell Trent to get Kane? If you have Robertson, then yes, I think I would, because either way, Trent can miss out in 31, plays City in 32, so it makes sense. I tried to get through the other questions that I wasn't able to answer in a bit. I'm going to go through these last few teams, and then we'll go for a few more teams later on. Just send in your team IDs later on, just not yet, and then we'll end the stream. So this will be probably a bit of a shorter one than usual, but there probably will be a stream tomorrow or on Saturday. But I'll put a poll out right now, actually. And let's get this started. When do you prefer the deadline stream to take place? This will obviously be UK time, so Friday evening, Saturday morning. Those are the two options we have. Obviously, the deadline is on the Saturday, 2nd of April, 11 AM. So there you go. Yeah, I think that's done. Hopefully no typos. All right, now let's move on to the final few teams. And this is sent in by Mohammed El-Madani, sorry. Jesus. I can be pretty special sometimes. So here you go. And what I've recommended to him is to roll the transfer, actually. And he has the bench boost left. So I think 36 is pretty simple. I think it doesn't make sense to bench boost in 33. So if we look here, you've got Dean, Nuri and Rafinha all missing. So and then you've got players like Ida as well. So I don't think a bench boost in 33 makes sense. For those of you who have Che Adams, Broja, Triple Arsenal and a few more doublers, you know, players from Newcastle, etc., Man United, then I think a bench boost in 33 makes perfect sense. But for people like Mohammed, I think it just makes sense to use it in 36. And as for 31, because you only have one free transfer, I would just roll the transfer and go into the next week like this. So yeah, you've got De Gea in goal against Leicester, not ideal. The only problem, obviously, is you probably would need Dean or Willock to come off your bench for Trent Alexander-Arnold. That could be an issue. Broja might not start, but so be it. And you will have two free transfers heading into 32, and you're in a good position. You have no other chips left, so it's not like you would be free hitting in 33 and you would let those two free transfers go to waste. I think you're in a good position. I would probably just roll the transfer this week and move on from there. So yeah, 57% of you going for Friday evening. Yeah, it's quite difficult, obviously. We'll wait and see what the final result says here, but yeah, pretty interesting there. Welcome, Avran, thank you for tuning in. Wood to Vekos for our -4. That's tough. I mean, the thing is, you know, Vekos has a double in 33, just like Wood, but I think he also has an extra double as well. It's tough. I'm not sure if it's worth a hit, honestly. You prefer GMT or GMT +1? Do I prefer GMT or GMT +1? Honestly, I guess I'd prefer this because we got an extra day, an extra hour, technically. Vekos, Robertson and Cancelo for a -8. Once again, Slimy, it depends who you take out, but it looks good. I actually like those transfers. -4 for Coutinho to Sancho. I mean, he does have the double in 33, so it's a good transfer, to be fair. And he is the informed Man United player. So yeah, I think it's a good transfer, actually. -4, you know, a bit iffy, but yeah, I think so. Tomorrow's going to be a big day to watch City, Liverpool and Chelsea's press conference. Exactly. I think that's where we'll get a lot more information and it will probably decide a lot of our transfers as well. Wildcard team, no more chips. Schmeichel, Cancelo, Robertson, James, Saka, Salah, Krul, Havertz. I'm guessing it's Kulusevski. Barnes, Kane, Vekos, please rate. It's a good team. And I'm not sure what else you have because you mentioned two strikers there. I'm not sure what your third striker is. I'm guessing it's a bench fodder option, but that looks pretty good. And on a wild card, I wouldn't go for Trent, to be fair. So, yeah, that looks pretty good. Thomas says, estaba pensando En la fecha 31, Trent por James. Well, James is not James Rodriguez, is he? Y King por Richarlison o Calvert-Lewin. Para tener a alguien doble. Fecha 32, Barnes por Coutinho. Fecha 33, Saint-Maximin por Richarlison y Madison por Kulusevski. Sí, creo que está bien eso. Y creo que me mandaste la identificación. Lo voy a usar y voy a chequear tu equipo y te mando un mensaje. Pero me parece muy bien. Sí, está bien. Haciendo eso para la fecha 33 tendría Ramsdale, Robertson, Cancelo, James, Barnes, Ward-Prowse, Salah, Madison, Broja o Broya, Lacazette, Saint-Maximin con 7 jugadores con fecha doble. Nada, sí, me parece bien y no tener que usar el free hit. Sí, me parece muy bien. Voy a chequear tu equipo también para también sugerir alguna otra cosa, pero está bien. I'm on wildcard this week. I have to decide if I sell Trent and Ramsdale, really leaning towards holding Trent. Oh, on a wildcard, you're leaning towards... I would probably get rid of him on a wildcard, but I can see why you wouldn't want to. You lose a lot of value as well, but I think that he will go down in price, so maybe you miss out on 0.2, 0.3 million. Is it worth getting United players game week 33? I'd say 1. So on a free hit, it'd be worth getting 2 or 3. With normal transfers, I'd say 1. I wouldn't really go overboard. Dylan, tomorrow's the World Cup group stage draw. Can you have the deadline stream on Saturday morning? Yeah, fair enough. That is a good point. I will look into that. Yeah, I forgot about that as well. Yeah, I'll try to as well. Saturday I am busy, but I will try to get one done as well. I'll let you guys know anyway whatever happens. I just want to see what people prefer. Most people prefer the one that's earlier on, so they tend to go for the Friday. -4 Coutinho to Havertz. Yeah, I think that's a good move, to be fair. Yeah, try to send your team in a little while, and either way, we'll go for a few teams after these last 2. So we are now going to be going on to... Wait, is last 2? Am I baffed? I probably am baffed, aren't I? So this team, let's make sure it's the right one. I don't want to get that wrong. So to Salah. I think this is Aranya's team. Let me just check what this one is. Cody, Dubravko, Rodrigo. Let's see. So, like I said, Robertson. Yeah, I'm not sure if I've... Let me just double check this. I think this is Aranya's team. So, 1 second. Apologies for this. Aranya, obviously, you can correct me anyway here. So, let's see. Let's just double check this. So Barnes, yeah, so you didn't have Salah. So yeah, the transfers I recommended to you, Aranya, were Rafinha and Trent to Salah and Robertson from -4 hit. You've also got the free hit and bench boost left. So I think it just makes perfect sense to free hit in 33 or 37, and I'd also bench boost in 36. That's pretty standard. You could also consider using the free hit in 38, which is something not a lot of people are talking about, but it could be very crucial as well, especially with the amount of rotation that could happen in that match day. But yeah, I think this is the right one, actually. So let me just double check this. Yeah, I think this is the team. I'm not sure what the last team up there is, but I'll double check that as well. But yeah, let's see as well in the live chat. So Wayne's saying, for me, I prefer GMT +1 since the game is 1 hour earlier in my country. Yeah, I think that makes sense, to be fair. My team is the one without Salah. Yeah. The reason why I've got Salah in here right now is because I basically made the transfers already for you. You don't have Ward-Prowse though. Yeah, so it's this one, isn't it? Let's see. Yeah, you don't have Ward-Prowse. So you've got Barnes. Yeah, I probably made a mistake there. I had a feeling I made a mistake there, so my bad for that. So yeah, I would bring in Salah for you, Aranya, and I would also bring in Robertson for Trent and Rafinha. I think that's pretty standard stuff for a -4 hit, and you'd have 0.6 million left. So let me know what you think of those transfers. I think that's pretty good. You don't have Jimenez to worry about, so yeah, that's fine. You don't need to, go into the vet course trap, potentially. Cody's one you can sell within the next few weeks, but you could keep him for the next 2, sell him in 33. Same goes for Jose Sarr. And Dubravka could be back in time for 33. I think he's got an injury problem as well during the international break, but he's got a double in 33. That could be pretty nice. So yeah, Jose Sarr could always be downgraded to Foster eventually in 33. But that looks pretty good. The rest of your team doesn't really need too much modification, actually. Ramsey as your 5th midfielder. Barnes has got plenty of doubles. Saka's one of the best midfielders right now. Same with Kulusevski. You've got Kane. Lacazette you could always downgrade after 33. That's what I would say. Broya, not ideal, but he's bench fodder anyway. I think that's a good team, and that's what I would do for a -4. Is that what you were thinking, Aranya? I'm guessing it was. So pretty standard there. Voy a esperar para mandarte mi ID A ver si lo puedes revisar. Yeah, bueno, Thomas, yeah. Probably after the stream as well, just so I can, give you the even more detailed answers there. Who to bench first, Cody or Madison or Dennis? Who to bench first? First on your bench, I would go for Madison, actually. Then Cody, then Dennis. Yeah, that's how I'd go about it. What's your opinion on going Pope? I worry that City will annihilate Burnley and make him go negative. At least for the Man City game. It's possible. It definitely is possible. I think it makes sense anyway. Even if you take a hit, for example, you get in Pope, he doesn't really get a clean sheet in the second game and he gets negative points in the first. It's a good move long term, but Burnley have been awful all season. They've only had a little bit of a nice patch fairly recently, you could say around January, but hasn't really worked out for him. But yeah, I think it's still worth going for Pope. There's also Schmeichel though, consider him. Ramsdale when he's fit is probably my favourite one. It's just a big shame that he picked up an injury. Eddie says I took out Sace, Coutinho, Jimenez from -4 to get Cancelo to start and Havertz. That looks good. Yeah, I like that, Eddie. I think that's really good. To be honest, I don't have any qualms about it. Just bear in mind Cancelo, there's a little chance that he's benched in 31 just because City tend to rotate a lot after international break. Also with Havertz, Chelsea will focus more on the Champions League and FA Cup. So if the Premier League, if there needs to be rotation there, then it could happen and it could affect you, but that looks pretty good. Maddison or Barnes or Lookman? I would go for... I'd still go for Barnes, but I like Maddison too. Updated wildcard 31 team. I don't think I'd change too much. I'll probably talk about the wildcard tomorrow in the deadline stream, or whenever I do the deadline stream, I'll let you guys know. Is Ramsdale fit to play? He still hasn't trained yet, so as things stand, he isn't fit enough to play. That could change in time for... let me just deal with the spammer 1 second. What would you do if you don't want to take any hits and play one from the bench? Will it be wise to go about Salah this week? I can see what you mean. Then yes, you could do that as well, but yeah, you're not going to have any way of getting Salah, unfortunately. I think it's just a great way of covering the two best captaincy options with Kane and Salah. I would take the hit personally, Aranya, but if you decide not to, then I can understand that, but it's just you probably would get Salah back in ahead of Game Week 34. So yeah, Arnold will start against Watford. That's what I was thinking like a week or two ago. Right now, I'm not so sure. Yeah, a lot of people are sending in their teams as well. I tried to get through some of those that were sent in as well. But yeah, there's so many right now. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Yeah. Okay, so let me see what we could go through. So yeah, this is pretty crazy right now. So yeah, and just remember, for those of you on Twitter that are sending like images, obviously it's ideal if you send just the ID, and then I can have your team on screen, and I can also toggle between different game weeks. Just bear that in mind. But yeah, I'll rate a few more teams, then we'll probably end it as well, because we've gone through quite a lot today. So Hotspur as well. Yeah, Hotspur, I've reviewed your team already. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'm just going to try and pick up some stuff now. Alright, so this is by Braden Barry. Let me just bring it up in a second, and we should be good to go. Alright, so here we go. We've got so many tabs open right now. So yeah, this is Braden Barry's team. So yeah, let's just read out what he said in the message. So, have 2 free transfers, would like to bring in Kane, James and Havertz, would take out Jimenez, Kilman and Son from -4. Still undecided, maybe I'll make only 2 transfers, would like to see what you think. To be honest, I like it from -4. Even though Son to Kane might not be worth it this week from -4, I think long term for your team structurally, it just makes sense. So if we do those transfers right now, I think it's just the right course of action here. I was looking to do something similar, Son to Havertz as well. That looks pretty good, yeah. It just makes sense. It gives you enough money to make those other 2 moves. You improve your team drastically. Just bear in mind with Havertz, there could be a rotation. It will affect you from time to time, but he's a very high risk, high reward player right now. So yeah, let's also bring in James for Kilman. It is okay. Yeah, that looks pretty good. From -4, like you said, there is the possibility to just make free transfers. But I think this is the way to go, and I would captain Salah or Kane. It's up to you there. Yeah, your bench is fine, for now. It might be a problem going forward. There's a few players that I'd look to get rid of. I'd probably start Broja over Ramsey. Yeah, he's the only kind of problem I have there, Barry. So Ramsey, Broja. If Broja starts, then great. He's a decent option. Then the kind of key problem here is if Ramsdale's not, fit, you probably would have to play Foster against Liverpool. Otherwise, take another hit to make a goalkeeper transfer. So that is what I would say that could hinder you there. So you might have to wait another week before you can bring in these players that you want. You can keep Son, you can focus on your goalkeeper transfer, and then bring in Harry Kane ahead of Game Week 34 potentially. In 34 you could do Son to Bruno Fernandes, and then you can move Bruno Fernandes down to a cheaper midfielder like Coutinho if he doubles in 34, and that will give you enough money to bring in Harry Kane up front potentially. And instead you could focus right now anyway on a cheaper striker or Weghorst in for Jimenez. But yeah, let me know what you think. I think that would probably be the best thing to do if Ramsdale is injured and you need to make a goalkeeper transfer. What time is the World Cup draw tomorrow? Honestly, I have no idea what time the World Cup draw is. I'll check it right now, but yeah, I just know it's tomorrow. I mean, I think I definitely watched the 2014 one. I didn't watch the 2018 one. Yeah. If anyone knows in the live chat, just let us know. I'm going to try go through some more team IDs. So Harry put his as well. I'll try to put yours on screen as well. So yeah, we'll go through a few more team IDs. Obviously, hopefully you can appreciate that it's very difficult to go for every single team. And that, that's been sending us quite a lot. We're talking about 40, 50 teams that have been sending. So thank you very much to everyone who's done so. And apologies if I haven't been able to. I'll try to get back to you through messaging anyway. So I'll offer my opinions there as well. So this is Harry's team. You've got one free transfer left, 0.6 million left in the bank. You've got Mendy in goal, so yeah, no problems there. You've already got Weghorst, that's great. Okay, so one possibility is to roll, but then you've got the Trent situation. Salah obviously you'd start. We'll put him in for Roman Sace, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, captain Salah. Yeah. What you could do here, actually, this is what I would consider. So you could go for Harry Kane in for Ollie Watkins, and in order to afford this, you would have to get rid of Heung-min Son. Obviously you don't have free Spurs players already, but you then have to take an additional hit if you want to keep Son as well. I'm not sure if it's worth it. So what you could do, Harry, apart from rolling, which is definitely an option for you this week, is to then get a cheaper midfielder. Unfortunately, you're just a little bit off from getting someone like Harvey Barnes or Maddison, which I'm guessing you've already considered as well. But because you've already got so many, midfielders, you've got Rafinha, Saka, Odegaard, Salah already, you could actually just dead end this midfield spot to a Gordon or a Jacob Ramsey, and that gives you enough money to then upgrade Rafinha to a Kai Havertz later down the line with other transfers as well. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's worth a -4 this week though, especially if you're getting someone like Gordon or Jacob Ramsey. So I think I would roll the transfer this week, Harry. That's what I would do. And I'm not sure which chips you have, available to you. But let's say, for example, if you've got the free hit in 33. So let me just make this transfer again. So yeah, we'll bring your team up. Okay, well, I've bugged out. Not a surprise there, is it? Let's see. So bring your original team back here. So yeah, you've had Jimenez. So going into Game Week 33, yeah, you've got some decent options here, but I think a free hit would be pretty good in 33 if you have the free hit still available to you. I have wildcard free and bench boost. Yeah, free hit 33, Harry, 34 wildcard and bench boost 36. I think it looks perfect for you, especially since you have all these Wolves players already. Rolling the transfer in 32, you use those 2 free transfers in 32, attack that game week, and then in 33, you can play the free hit and then wildcard out of it in 34. I think that's how I'd go about it in your situation. Let me know if you have another idea. But yeah, that's how I'd go about it in your situation. I'll wait for your kind of feedback there, answer a few questions, and then we'll try to go through another one. Yeah, 5 p.m. GMT, that sounds about right, but I'm not sure. Yeah, 5 p.m. in the UK, Sudindra, thank you very much there. Okay, so we've got so many IDs here. Absolutely crazy. What was the chip strategy you had suggested for my team? Let me see. So Aranya, I've got a few notes here, so bear with me for a second, just so I get it right. Yeah, you said you had the free hit and bench boost remaining. Yeah, Aranya, I said to use the free hit in 33 and bench boost 36. You could also consider using the free hit in another week, like 37 or 38. But the bench boost I'd definitely use in 36. I don't think it makes sense to use in 33 in your situation. So that's how I'd go about it. Okay, I'll try to go for as many as possible, but no guarantees, unfortunately, no guarantees. So I'll try to scroll up a little bit and see what else we have. So yeah. So this is by Splashy. Hopefully you're still in the chat. And then yeah, we'll try to give a brief overview as well. So yeah, some pretty new teams, new looking teams as well, which is pretty good as well. All right, so you've got Jose Sa and Dubravka. Once again, Dubravka should be back in time for Game Week 33, which is when you want to play him. You don't have to make a goalkeeper transfer this week, basically. So Jose Sa could be your main goalkeeper against Aston Villa. That's fine. How many transfers do you have available? 1. 0.2 million left in the bank. So, yeah, your forward line isn't ideal. You could do Weghorst in for Wood, I think. So let me just double check this. So, yeah, let's bring in Weghorst in. Obviously not a great player anyway, but here we go. Martinelli could be pretty interesting. I like this. So use this one free transfer here. Obviously play Rudiger. You know, don't bench him here. I would probably start him over Doherty or Ben White. That is the kind of key question there. I think I'd do something like that. Cody. You could put Broja first bench. It's up to you here. But yeah, I'd probably captain Salah or Kane. But yeah, Splashy, let me know which chips you have available. Let me see if you've already done so already. You are thinking of Cody to Cancelo and Rafinha to Gordon from -4. Fair enough. I mean, Chris Wood does have a double in 33, so you could actually just do what you said instead. I like the Cody to Cancelo transfer. Rafinha to Gordon, I actually looked at something similar to facilitate that move as well. So comparing what you proposed to my transfer suggestion, I think yours could be better. So let me just double check this. So 33, you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so yeah, you'd have 5 double game week players. If you have the free hit, I'd still possibly use it in 33. But it ultimately depends. If you've got no bench boost left, maybe just free in 36 instead and just go with 33 like this. But yeah, I think I would probably go with what you said and go for a -4. Cody to Cancelo and Rafinha to Gordon. Splashy. I think that is the right call for you. Okay, so yeah, 5 p.m. Thank you, Stephen, as well. All right, so Rafinha or Barnes for Mohamed Salah. Free transfer used. I will free hit in 33. If we're looking long term, I have to say I'd get rid of Rafinha instead and keep Barnes. The next two, Rafinha looks better in terms of the fixture, but if you want someone for the long term, I'd rather have Barnes. So yeah, Trufandela, I'd get rid of Rafinha. And free and 33, that looks good. All right, so I'll try to go through these other team IDs as well. Bear with me for a second. So yeah, if you put your team IDs, try to tell me which chips you have available. It does help in terms of providing feedback in terms of when you should use these chips and how you navigate Game Week 33, for example. Because if you're looking to free it anyway in 33, some of the transfers I suggest for that week might not make any sense or it doesn't really matter because you're going to free it anyway. So yeah, let's get this new team up here as well. Bear with me for a second. So this is by Abdullah Umar. All right, so this should be good. All right, so yeah. Here we go. And another team here. Wow, yeah, so triple Wolves, just like myself. All right, so you've got 2 free transfers. Pretty nice, good position to be in there. So Trent, probably missing out anyway, but let's do something like this. Rudiger, Salah coming in for Jimenez. All right, so your team actually looks pretty decent for this week, even without transfers. But I would use one, obviously, otherwise you'd burn it. You've actually so unlucky because you've got Ramsdale and Dubravka who could both be out for Game Week 31, which is a big shame, and that is just really unlucky. What can I say? But you've also got Trent as well, who could be an issue. Kilman or Cody coming on isn't the worst thing in the world. What I would look to do is either make a goalkeeper transfer in your case, or getting rid of one of those Wolves defenders, because I would try to chip away from those Wolves players one by one. So let me just see what you wrote here. So thinking of free hitting in 33 and bench boosting in 36, I think that is the right thing to do. Might get Mateta in for Jimenez and Cancelo in for Kilman. I like those a lot. So if we look in Game Week 33, yeah, I definitely would free hit there because you've got triple Wolves, you've got Rafinha as well, and then you've got players like Gordon who you'd have to field. Yeah, I would look to free in 33, bench boost 36, mate. And heading into Game Week 31, I'd probably just get rid of one of those Wolves players already, actually. You could do that. Starting Gordon with a double looks pretty decent anyway. Captain Kane or Salah, up to you there. And yeah, I would just keep an eye on those injury news. So if it looks like Trent is the one who's more likely to miss out, which at the moment it does look like it, then I would prioritise a Wolves defender transfer. And I would go for what you said and get Cancelo in and try to fund it with another move as well. So let me just double check what you said as well. Mateta in for Jimenez, I think that's fine. That's completely fine. And you're dead ending that third striker spot, which is pretty useless this season. I would actually look to do what you said there. Otherwise, you can just make one transfer. If it's Ramsdale and Dubravka that are going to miss out and you need to field or make a transfer in order to field 11 players, then I would focus on doing Ramsdale out. You don't have enough money for Pope, so what I would do is potentially go for Schmeichel. So yeah, let me know what you think. I know he's facing Man United this week, but he's got doubles in 33 and in the future as well. But you could do that too. There's a lot of goalkeeper problems this week, which is a bit crazy to say the least. Let me know what you think, Abdullah. Hopefully you got that. I'll try now to go through Junior's team as well. So yeah, we're trying to go through these one by one. So bear with me for a second. It's going to be impossible to go through all of them, quite frankly, but I'm trying my best. So this is by Junior. And let's see what you have in store. So yeah, if you do send your team ID, try to give like a brief overview of which chips you have left. If you have any ideas for transfers, then say them, and then I can offer my opinions on your transfers as well. So Junior, you've got one transfer left. I'm not sure which chips you have, but maybe you put that in the live chat already. So yeah, one of the big problems I have with this team, it's a good team by the way, it's a solid team, is the double Watford attack, and I'm sure you're aware of that. Obviously Jimenez is kind of a sell as well. I think your strike force definitely needs an overhaul for sure. That is the main cause of concern here. You obviously got Ramsdale and Trent who've got issues as well. So let me just check, Junior. Let me know if you can. Do you have the wildcard available, or which chips do you have? That would be great in order to offer my opinion on this team. I have wildcard and bench boost. Okay, honestly, looking at this team, because if Ramsdale's out, that is already a transfer you want to make. Foster as your second goalkeeper would remain anyway. Your defence looks good, but if Trent is out as well, you'd probably want to get Robertson, etc. Laporte, Cancelo, White look pretty good. I like that. Even Kilman for the next 2 game weeks. Foden, Son, Salah look good as well. Honestly, I'd probably wildcard Junior because Smith Rowe isn't first choice anymore. It's Martinelli on the left-hand side. You can also, I wouldn't say rectify. Son's fine, but you can get Harry Kane up front. So I think, Junior, the best thing for you, and your other chip is bench boost. I'd wildcard here in 31 and bench boost in 36. Or if you decide to, stack up on these double game week 33 players, heavily stack, and you've got players on the bench as well that are solid, you could bench boost in 33. So hopefully you got that, Junior. I would wildcard right now. You can check out the best wildcard team video I made recently. And I would also then look to bench boost, probably in 36. But that's what I would do in your situation, Junior. So thank you very much for sending in your team. Thank you, Weising, as well. Oh, Jesus, yeah. Wow, this is going to be quite a task. So what is next? I think I answered that question already, yes. Is Trent to Cancelo and James to Kilman for a -4 worth it? I'm guessing it's Kilman to James. Yes, it would be worth it if it's that way. Ring, 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 ring. What time is the... Yeah, I think we already went through that. Okay, Eddie puts his team. I'll try to get this on as well. But yeah, just bear in mind, it's going to be very difficult to go through all the teams as well. We're going to probably stream for another, little while longer, and then we'll wrap up. But yeah, we've gone through dozens of teams already. So yeah, just a little break here. And let me actually show you the predicted points whilst I have a little water break. So yeah, just check this out as well. So as you can see here, Salah, as always, pretty much is the highest scoring, or highest predicted scoring player in Game Week 31. Calvert-Lewin is right up there, same with Richarlison, but as we talked about earlier with Weghorst and Richarlison's comparison in the stats, pretty poor. And actually it was Calvert-Lewin that I compared him to. Richarlison, I probably wouldn't go near him. I know he's doing well for Brazil, but for Everton he doesn't. And I would actually rather go for Calvert-Lewin if I had to pick one of those. Mane, probably, we're not going to consider him. Obviously a great differential and fantastic from time to time, but I'm still not sure. And most people would go for him over the likes of Salah or Harry Kane, etc. Nick Pope, look at that, 7.5, despite the fact they play City. Weghorst is up there with 7. Bruno Fernandes 2, and he's facing Leicester. Ronaldo's up there. Damari Gray, Pickford. So quite a lot of Everton players up here. I'm not so sure if I agree there, but fair enough. Coleman, Heung-min Son, McNeil, Harry Kane. Once again, Son and Kane are pretty much predicted to score the exact same number of points. And if we look at the home record, actually, Heung-min Son does trump Harry Kane, but Harry Kane has been in much better form pretty much since Conte has come in. So let me know what you think of these predicted points as well. We'll then try to go back to the teams as well that we had on screen. So this is, let me see, am I losing my mind here? Yeah, this is by Eddie. So thank you, Eddie, for sending in your team. And let's see. So you've got 2 free transfers. You say you have a free hit left. Let me just double check. Yes, 1 free hit left. So, okay, standard stuff here this week. I think Jimenez to Weghorst would make sense. Other transfers you could do. Yeah, you don't even have Trent, so that looks pretty good. And you can start Sarr. You don't have to make a goalkeeper transfer. I think I'll do Jimenez. Just to rectify, double check this, I'd probably bench these Aston Villa players. Although you could start Coutinho over Roman Sace. That is what you could do. Or even Broja. So yeah, that looks pretty fine. Going into Game Week 33, just looking at how your team is lining up. Yeah, I think I'd free hit here. You've got a lot of players who are blanking. Jose Sarr, Coutinho, Cash, Rafinha, Sace. You've got a few double game week players, the Arsenal ones, Broja and Dubravka. I think a free in 33, Eddie, is the right thing to do. And in 31, I'd probably go for Weghorst as your free transfer for Jimenez. So hopefully you caught that, and let me know what you think. Maybe you have a different opinion to myself. Let's see. Willock to Barnes for a -4. I wouldn't do it this week. I wouldn't do it for a -4 this week. So yeah, I realise I'm very far behind in the chat, by the way. I was trying to scroll back up and see the team IDs I missed, but it's impossible. Honestly, it's impossible. So yeah, I'll try to go for a few more, and then we're going to wrap up as well. Yeah, Abdullah, I literally went through your teams earlier. I went through your team, I'm pretty sure. So check that out as well. Rafinha or Barnes for Mohamed Salah. Yeah, I'd get rid of Rafinha, mate. So FPL Dream, you put your team ID. I'll try to get through this in a second. Alright, so FPL.team, that's the site where it's at. And also livefpl.net, 2 great resources. Alright, so this is another team that we're going through. This is FPL Dreams team. So your thoughts are Weghorst to Jimenez in Game Week 31, Kulusevski to Havertz in 32, free hit 33, wildcard 34, bench boost 36. And you're also thinking of the possibility of free hitting in 37, but yet still bench boosting in 36 and wildcarding in 34. That looks very good, mate. So yeah, I'm just going to check how your team looks. So I like those transfers you proposed. I pretty much agree with all of them. Sissoko, yeah, okay, yeah. The other possibility is, instead of getting rid of Kulusevski, I would actually rather get rid of Rafinha. But obviously the problem is you'd rather do that transfer in 33, but you're free hitting in 33 anyway. But if you are free hitting in 37, which you are considering, then it would make sense to do that instead and keep Kulusevski FPL Dream. But let's just check your team in 33 and see how your team is stacking up. It's actually a good team, and you've got Kane and Salah there, the 2 kind of main single game week options there for that week. But I would still probably free hit in 33 actually. And despite Rafinha having Watford. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would get rid of Kulusevski in 32. Let me just double check this. So, Aston Villa away. It's not a great fixture, but it's not a bad one. I like your 31 transfer. I'm not sure about the 32 one, and I like the wild card, bench boost, and free hit strategy. I think it's perfect for your team. I think it makes sense, and I'd go for it because, yeah, I think you could definitely improve this team with a free hit. The other possibility would have been free hit in 36, but you've already got the bench boost, and I think it just makes sense to use it in 36. So yeah, FPL Dream, I'd do exactly what you said in terms of the chip strategy. You could consider free hit 37. That's the only thing up for debate. Wildcard 34, 35 is fine. Bench boost 36 is good. And I'm not sure about Kulusevski to Havertz. I'd rather do Rafinha out for Havertz instead, although you're wildcarding in 34 anyway. Musa says, took a -8 to get in Salah and Weghorst and sell Jimenez and Coutinho. Yeah, that makes sense. And to be honest, yeah, I don't really have any qualms about it. That looks pretty good. Thank you very much, Sudindra. Much appreciated. Thank you very much for the shout out. In terms of submitting our teams, I mean, people are sending the team IDs right now in the live chat, but yeah, we're going to go for a few more anyway and then wrap things up. Obviously, it's impossible to go for every single one that's been sent in here. So I'll try pick a few more here. So the next one up is going to be by Golden Boys. So no chips left as well. So that's going to be pretty interesting, something different as well. So yeah. You can also, I'll try to get back to those of you who I didn't respond to on Twitter and Instagram. I think that'll be the best thing to do. But yeah, we've gone through like 20 teams already, I think, in this stream. And we'll try to go through a few more as well. If you haven't already, like Sudindra said already, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. It'd be much appreciated. It really helps out the channel. So yeah, try to help out the channel like that. And let's now go to this team by Golden Boys here. So no chips left. All right, so Kane's Salah captain, pretty simple stuff here. How many free transfers do you have? You've got 2. Okay, bit of flexibility there. You don't have to make a goalkeeper transfer even if Ramsdale were to miss out. You don't even have Trent to worry about, which is fine. So, okay, so this is what we do potentially. So, yeah, you got Trent, Robertson, yeah. Because you've got Robertson already, I would actually consider getting rid of Trent here in your case for Cancelo or Reece James. I think that's what I would do with a free transfer. Rafinha, I don't like him long term, but I'd get rid of him in 33 instead. And looking at 33, that would be kind of the main problem you'd have potentially. You've got a few double gameweek players already, so that's fine. Ramsdale would be in, assuming he's fit in time for that, which he should be. You've got an 11 already. So yeah, Rafinha and Nuri, you can make transfers in Game Week 33 to get rid of. Ramsey could just stay on your bench. And I think I would do something like that. I'd get rid of Trent potentially for Cancelo or James. It gives you more money in the bank to then deal with the rest of the season. And Rafinha, definite sell in 33. Nuri, the same thing, pretty much. And in terms of players you can look to bring in, yeah, Cancelo, James in defence. Up front, there's not really anyone that I'd heavily recommend. You've got Adams and Broja, who could be fine for 33. I think they could be pretty good options, especially in the case of Che Adams. And this looks pretty good. If you have like a fair, free transfer to spare, Jose Sa could also be downgraded to Foster. It gives you more money and more possibilities from 34 onwards. Since you have no chips left, I think the main thing would be to maximise your starting 11 pretty much. You've got no bench boost left, so why not just try to have some decent players on the bench, but you don't need 2 playing goalkeepers. Obviously, some people would argue the opposite because of Ramsdale, Dubravka, all these other goalkeepers having issues, but I think I'd go for something like this as well. Let's see. You can't sell Trent. Well, if he's missing out on Game Week 31, then he plays City in 32, then has United in 33, which isn't a bad fixture anyway, but it's only a single game week, then I can see why you do it, to be fair. I think it's still... It's a team-dependent question, I think. You don't have to sell Trent, but if you want to look at ways to find money, then I think I'd do it. I think the other thing I would do, potentially, I recommended it just now, is Jose Sa. Just downgrade Jose Sa right now, potentially, but then that might look a bit stupid if Ramsdale's the one missing out in 31. So, yeah, there's a lot of different things to think about. Otherwise, if Ramsdale's clear to play, Sa down to a cheaper goalkeeper makes sense, and you can keep Trent and just enjoy him in 33 onwards. But yeah, it's difficult. Done and sold. I got Robbo. Fair enough. Yeah, Robbo's. Yeah, I think he's just been the better option anyway right now. Okay, so yeah, no worries, FPL Dream. It's fine. Yeah, it cancelled the dislike. Don't worry, it's no worries there anyway. Thank you very much for always tuning in, and hopefully, oh yeah. So let's see what you. Yeah, so if you have any other kind of ideas, FPL Dream, about your team, then let me know. George says keep Coutinho. I'd probably sell him, honestly. There is an argument to keep him because in 34 onwards he could be a great option, but for the next 3 game weeks he's a sell, clearly. What's better, bench boost 36 or free hit 36? I think bench boost. If you have both, it has to be the bench boost. But yeah, in my opinion, if you don't have the bench boost, the free hit in 36 could arguably be better because you have more weeks to prepare for that week, and yeah. But I think I'd say free hit 33, bench boost 36 is probably the best way to go. Based on the teams we've seen today, I think it makes more sense there. Okay, so I'll go through a few last questions here, last team. So Hamza put his team, so thank you very much for sending it in. I'll try to go through it as well. So remember, there will be the deadline stream within the next day or two, so keep an eye on that. And yeah, let's go through Hamza's team right now. Let's put it on screen here. All right, so you've got 1 free transfer. So yeah, let me know if you've got, you know, any chips. So yeah, 1 bench boost left. Once again, I don't want to sound like a repeated record, but looking at this team, so looking at 33, your team looks pretty good actually, but I'm not sure if I would bench boost this. You do have enough transfers to bolster, you know, Cody, Douglas Luiz to playing options and then bench boost in 33. You have that option, but I think Hamza, the best thing to do is to bench boost in 36. You've got more time to prepare for it, probably more double game weeks anyway, so the ceiling is higher naturally. Looking at your team, 33, you know, Sa is definite sell. You know, you can go to Ramsdale at that point. You can go to Nick Pope, also Schmeichel. And the rest of your team, Douglas Luiz is fine as your 5th midfielder. Cody, you can sell. So looking at how much money you have in the bank, you've got Robertson. Once again, you know, it might be contrary to popular belief, but you could downgrade Trent. You can go to Cancelo or Reece James, and then that gives you enough money to also upgrade Connor Cody. So you've got plenty of options there. But the main thing in 33, get rid of Jose Sa, and I would get another goalkeeper in for the long term because you probably don't want to play Foster, even if he's playing Brentford. And in 31, looking at the transfer you could make for this week, so yeah, it's not too bad. Obviously, we'll just make a few changes here. Salah will come in. Trent, assuming he actually is fit enough, he can come in for, let's say, Connor Cody. And Ivan Toney at bench. Connor Cody's not a bad option to have coming off your bench. So yeah, I think you could roll the transfer this week, personally. Yeah, and just focus on building your team for the rest of the season, using those 2 free transfers that you kind of roll over from time to time to then maximize your bench boost in 36. I think that's the best way to go, Hamza. Thank you, Eddie. And obviously, if you've got any more thoughts, then let me know. I thought of doing a -4, as you said, Weghorst for Jimenez. I could do James for Sace, Havertz for Coutinho, and Weghorst for Jimenez. Yeah, I like that. I like the Havertz for Coutinho move, despite the kind of problems that could arise with Chelsea assets. James for Sace is also a good option. And Weghorst for Jimenez, they're all good transfers, mate. They're all really good. Thank you, Golden Boys, as well. Much appreciated. So, yeah. Let me just show that as well. Yeah, there we go. So, we've gone through all of those teams as well. We're going to go for one more team, and then we're going to just stick for a few more questions and then wrap up. Obviously, apologies that we can't get through every single team, but we've gone through quite a lot already. Salah came for captain. I'm still going for Salah, but there is a doubt in my mind. If I had Kane, I would heavily consider him, to be fair. That is the point. So, yeah, we definitely have to... I think it's almost 50-50 this week, but I think I'm still going to go for Salah just because Watford have looked much worse than Newcastle. Thank you, Hamza. Obviously, let me know what you think as well. I'm going to go through one more team, so let's get this up and running. So... this is the last team we're going to go through, at least on screen. You can send in your teams quickly through the live chat. But yeah, I think quite a lot of these teams, similar problems, similar situations, kind of applicable to a lot of them. So this is by Vadani. So thank you very much for sending in your team. Apparently you need a lot of help. I'm not sure if you do. You've got the bench boost left. So here we go. Ward-Prowse is in here. You've got Weghorst already. That's fine. So let's see. You've got how many transfers? 1 free transfer, 2 million in the bank. Ramsdale, yeah, I wouldn't make a goalkeeper transfer just yet because if he misses out, you've got De Gea, and they also both double in 33. So that's fine, to be fair. That's all good. Robertson can come in for Dean. Also Ward-Prowse in for Jacob Ramsey. Yeah, you could do something like this. Okay, so 1 free transfer. Yeah, you've got no Salah. That would be a bit of a concern. My natural instinct would be to roll, but yeah, I think you would want a way to get Salah back in, wouldn't you? So it's a bit of a difficult one, actually. I can see why. So you've got a few alternatives, a few options. So you could downgrade one of your goalkeepers, although I probably wouldn't. I'd actually go for either Jimenez downgraded to a cheap striker or Trent. That could be one of the things you do, and that gives you enough money to do Son up to Mohamed Salah. I think I would look to do something like that, although there is the argument, you know, Salah plays City in 32 and has Man United in 33. You don't need to get him back in, but I think I would prioritise that. If there's any player you're missing out on, it probably is Salah. Trent and Ramsdale are big kind of question marks, but you have De Gea and Ramsey or Dean to cover for that. And otherwise, you could just roll the transfer, go without Salah, captain Kane, and see what happens from that. But I think that's the kind of two alternatives for you. You either roll the transfer or you find a way to get Salah back in for a -4, and that involves downgrading either Jimenez, which is my preference, or Trent Alexander-Arnold if he misses out in 31. Now, looking at your team in the future as well, I think a bench boost in 36 makes complete sense for you, mate. Yeah, I think the bench boost in 36. In 33, you'd have to make too many transfers to really maximise that bench boost. Remember, the bench boost is quite an overrated ship anyway, and you could maybe take a hit or two, get rid of Ramsey, Dean, Jimenez, Aït-Nouri. But I think the best thing to do for you is bench boost in 36. I think it just makes more sense. You're going to probably get a better score out of it, and focus on getting Salah back in right now. I think that is your main cause for concern right now. If you decided to take the bench boost 33 approach, that would be too many transfers, too many hits, and I'm not sure it would be worth it in the end. So let me know what you think, but I think I would go for Salah back in 31, and I'd bench boost in 36. You've got plenty of time to prepare for that. You could take a few hits along the way, but you would ultimately benefit more from doing that in the end. So yeah, let me know what you think. Thank you very much, Hamza. Thank you very much to everyone who sent in their teams as well. Havertz or Kulusevski, different price points, but I'd say Havertz right now. Both of them look really good though. If free hit in Game Week 33, which striker to replace Jimenez? Great question. If you don't have Harry Kane, it's quite a simple one. And you can take a -4, make 2 free transfers, get Harry Kane in. That's the ideal one. Otherwise, it's quite tough because there's not that many strikers I'd recommend for this week per se. There's Calvert-Lewin, Weghorst, Che Adams because he does double in 33, but you're going to be free hitting in 33 anyway. So honestly, I'd probably still say Weghorst, but there's not much to choose from. Cucho Hernandez is one of my favourite kind of budget strikers right now. He's facing Liverpool this week. Mateta, another kind of good option that's popping about recently. He's facing Arsenal. So there's not that much to choose from in the strikers right now. Thank you, Eddie. Best 4.8 million defender. I need to think about that one. I'd probably still say Doherty's up there, Mohamed. Yeah. Yeah, I'll try to go for a few more. Like I said, I'd love to go for every single one, but it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. So I'll try to answer a few more questions, then go for 1 or 2 more teams, but honestly, that'll be it. Either way, we're going to do a stream within the next day or two, and then we can go through more. Thank you, Thomas. I'll check IG later. Gracias, Thomas. KDB and Kane or Salah and Robertson? It has to be Salah and Robertson for me, if I had to pick one, Shane. Mahrez for a 1 week punt this game week. I'm just not sure if he starts though. That is the problem. But yes, Mahrez as a 1 week punt could always deliver. Thank you, Kit Tai. Thank you very much. So yeah, if free on week 33. Oh yeah, so answered that one. Thank you very much. All right, so let's go through these last 2 teams. So by Singh and Nabil. So yeah, apologies. Try not to send any more team IDs because we're just going to go through these 2 and that's it. I'll try to respond to those of you on Twitter and Instagram. But yeah, thank you very much to everyone who sent in their teams. So this will be, I think, yeah, this should be the team here. All right, so this is Singh's team. So you've got 1 free transfer, 0.5 million left in the bank. Yeah, let me know which chips you have left, Singh, and then I can go through this as well. So yeah, a lot of people in similar situations with 2 or 3 Wolves players, with Trent, with Ramsdale. So yeah, I think it's kind of a recurring theme here. So we'd go for something like this. You've got Joshua King and Jimenez and Watkins. I think your strike force needs upgrading, and so does mine, to be fair. I'm just saying. So I think I'd go for something like this. I'd bench Amati in place for Sace. Don't make a goalkeeper transfer, I think. I'd focus on your forward line. So what you could do here, you've got plenty of options. You can do King or Jimenez. I think Jimenez is the one to go for. So Jimenez to Weghorst is an option. Now, if you want to kind of change your structure a little bit, focus on your strike force as well. You could get Harry Kane in. So these are 2 possibilities. You either get Weghorst in for Jimenez for 1 free transfer and then go into Game Week 33 with a free hit or just 2 free transfers. Or you could do something like this. So you get Harry Kane in and then you have to downgrade Heung-min Son to a cheap midfielder. You could look at Martinelli. You could look at someone like Gordon, for example. We'll go for something like this potentially. So you could do this. It also sorts out your team structure in the long term. But then again, this is the problem. You've already got Ramsey. So this kind of puts me off this kind of thing that I'm suggesting here. I don't like having 2 budget midfielders. One's good. 2 is probably too much. So actually, I'm probably going to scratch that, and I'd probably recommend the Weghorst transfer in, or just deadening that striker spot completely. But yeah, either way, King and Watkins, especially in the case of King, he's another one. Despite, I think he scored a hat-trick recently in the international duty, I'd still get rid of him. And he's another one you can get rid of. But yeah, let me know what chips you have right now. So you've got wildcard, bench boost, free hit left. Okay, perfect. So what I would do is... okay, in your case, I would even consider potentially, you could wildcard right now in 31, and then you can free hit in either 33 or 37 and bench boost 36. I think that's what you could do. Otherwise, the alternative is to wildcard in 34, 35. And why I say this is because you can pretty much change your entire front line. And you can also cover 33 in the process. You can get Kane, Weghorst, Che Adams, Broja, etc. Even Kucha Hernandez, Mateta, Gelhardt. In the midfield as well, you can have someone like Gordon on your bench. You can have Salah, Saka. I mean, then it's kind of open for debate. The rest of your midfield. You can go for someone like Maddison or Barnes for the long term. Amati, he's not a bad option, but you could still improve on him. You can get rid of Trent. You can get Cancelo, Reece James as well, etc. You can get rid of Ramsdale, get someone like Pope in, and maybe just downgrade your second goalkeeper, and it gives you more money for the rest of your squad. So actually, I'm tempted to say a wild card could be good in 31. You don't need it, but I do think it improves your team quite a bit. So let me know. Maybe you think differently, and instead you could just do, Weghorst in for Jimenez, and then use the wildcard in 34, 35. Those are the two approaches I think I'd mainly take with your team. So now let me go through Nabil's team as well, the final team that we're going to go through on screen. And then we'll go for a few final questions as well, and then we will wrap this up. So be sure to like the smash button, smash the like button, and subscribe for new. So yeah, let's get this on the road as well. Alright, so final team here. So Nabil, thank you for waiting patiently here. So you've got one free transfer, you've got Tarkowski in already, and Weghorst. Okay, so yeah, which chips do you have available, Nabil? Maybe you've put this already. Chalobah, Gordon for target, Ramsey with a -4, yes or no? I probably would say no. I'd rather go for another Chelsea defender if you decide to go for it. I expect Chelsea to rotate quite a bit, potentially, and Chalobah is one of those that could be in and out of that side. That's the way I see it. I could be wrong. But yeah, thank you, Vadani. Thank you very much for sending in your team and for your comments. Thank you very much. So Salah playing then? I believe he will play, yes. I believe he will. So let's make a few changes to your team. So Tarkowski would come in. You could even start Cucurella as well. He could come in for target. So yeah, you don't need to make a goalkeeper transfer here. But yeah, Nabil, let me know if you're still here, what chips you have left, because you could actually wildcard in 31 or 34 if you still have that chip left. Looking at Game Week 33, I think it makes sense. You're actually not in a bad position, to be fair. But yeah, what I would do in your case actually is actually free hit in 36 or 37. But then again, if you have the bench boost, then it changes things a little bit, because I'd rather bench boost in 36. I probably wouldn't want to bench boost in 33. But then again, you've only got one player blanking there in Jacob Ramsey. This could be a pretty decent bench boost actually in 33. So that's what I'm considering. Let's see. So you've got 0.3 million left in the bank. Obviously, you could make some transfers before that as well. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. You could actually bench boost in 33. That is something you could do, and then wildcard in 34. There's quite a lot of different ways you can approach this. So Chalobah, Gordon for target, Ramsey with wildcard in 33. Oh, you want a wildcard in 33? I'm not sure if I would wildcard in 33. Obviously, you don't have any United players. That is a concern potentially, but I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure. You could actually bench boost in 33 or 36. I mean, you've got Targo over double game. We've got Dennis De Gea. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty solid. Even those single gimmick players like Trent, Salah, Cancelo, Heung-min Son, they're pretty good. I think this is a good bench boost team in 33. The only problem is Jacob Ramsey, which you could actually alter with a few free transfers. That's the way I see it though, personally. Wildcard and bench boost, I'd say potentially bench boost in 33 and then wildcard 34, and you can focus more on your starting 11, and that separates you from the rest of the pack, potentially. But yeah, you don't have any free hits left. Otherwise, I would have recommended it in 36 in your case. Yeah, so Salah's playing then. Yeah, answered that one. I want a free in 33, but I want to start building towards a bench boost 36. You can still do that though, but I can see what you mean, because it does potentially eliminate a free transfer or two in your situation, but you can still do that. You can free in 33. You got them free transfers towards Game Week 36, and you can take a hit or two potentially, but I see what you mean. Thank you, Singh. I'd planned for Jimenez to Weghorst and Sace to James for a -4. Yeah, but injuries have put a spanner in the works. Really like the wildcard option though. I think it might, just because of the forward line in particular, I think it makes sense, and you can get Harry Kane in. You change your structure as well. I think it's pretty good. Can we go De Bruyne over Salah? You could, but I personally wouldn't do it because I know Liverpool do play 4 times in 11 days as well, but Salah's more nailed than De Bruyne, especially in the Premier League. So I think it makes more sense to go for Salah. I definitely wouldn't get rid of Salah for De Bruyne. Jimenez, Broja, Trent out for Weghorst, Richarlison, James in. I like the Weghorst, very mildly, but I like that, and James, definitely. I'm not sure about Richarlison. I'd actually rather go for Calvert-Lewin instead, but still, some good transfers. You're maximising Game Week 31, and Richarlison could come good. So if you back him, go for it. It's just I haven't seen enough from him for Everton this season. Which -4 is better to get in? James, Havertz, Weghorst, or Cancelo, Havertz, Sancho? Okay, so I'd actually rather go for Cancelo, Havertz, Sancho, and Gelhardt, Eddie. Yeah, I'd probably do that as well. Thank you, Nabil. Hopefully you got that. Obviously, you might have a different opinion. As you said, you're probably looking to wildcard potentially in 33. That is also a good move, but I just think your team looks pretty good in 33. I'd recommend going to FPL.team and seeing how your team lines up in that week. I think that could be the best thing for you. It could look pretty good there. So thank you to everyone who sent in their teams. It's much appreciated. There's going to be a deadline stream within the next day or two. I'll keep you guys posted about that. Hi Dylan, I've taken a -8 for Trent, Jimenez, Son, out for Cancelo, Kane, Havertz. Thoughts? Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Obviously, taking Trent out for a hit could be costly, and even Son, but Jimenez, yeah, that's the right move. You do sort out your structure a little bit long term. I like the transfers. It's just Trent and Son are a bit iffy. I would expect Trent to potentially miss out anyway, so yeah, I think that's a good move. Martinelli or Odegaard? I'd probably go for Martinelli just for the goal output. Pope for Sarr? Yes, but I don't think you need to this week. You can always make that move later on or get another goalkeeper entirely like Ramsdale when he's fit and available in 33. But yes, Pope is a good move. It's just I don't really expect him to do that well against City. And against Everton, not really expecting a clean sheet, although it's possible. But yeah, he's still one of the best goalkeepers from now until the end of the season, especially with all those doubles yet to be rescheduled. But thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. More streams and videos to come. Thank you very much to everyone who's already done so and supported the channel. We've gone through over 20 teams, I believe, unless I can't count today. So thank you very much to everyone who sent in their teams on Twitter and Instagram, and also through the live chat. And those are my socials on screen. On Instagram, it's Dylan_RCM. On Twitter, it's DylanRCM. And there's also the Discord server. Check it out in the description below. You can also become a channel member and a Patreon and support the channel even further and get exclusive early access to all my videos. All the best of luck for Game Week 31. The deadline is almost upon us. On that Saturday morning, we could stream then. I'll let you guys know and keep you posted on these different social media platforms. But yeah, it's been a blast. It's actually, this time's gone so quick. It's been over 2 hours. It hasn't felt like it, but all the very best of luck, as I said before. Enjoy the football as always, and I'll see you next time.